Again, we ask that testimony be limited to 5 minutes. And then finally, the purpose of this hearing is to gather comments on the proposed rule. So there will be no question and answer session in this hearing. Okay. With that said, I'll begin by reading the proposed personnel rule. So this is public hearing DH 23-2025 regarding a proposal to amend the personnel rules and regulations of the City of New York as follows. Resolved that the personnel rules and regulations of the City of New York are hereby amended as follows. Add Rule 6.2.8, reinstatement of employees dismissed for noncompliance with the COVID-19 vaccination mandate. A, notwithstanding any other rule or regulation, upon written application for reinstatement by a person who was dismissed from a permanent competitive or labor class position due to noncompliance with the COVID-19 vaccination mandate, an agency may, in its discretion and with the approval of the Commissioner of Citywide Administrative Services, reinstate such person, provided that 1. Such application is submitted within 30 calendar days of the effective date of this rule, and 2. Such reinstatement may be subject to such investigation, medical examination, or other qualifying requirements applicable to the position as the Commissioner of Citywide Administrative Services shall determine. B. This section shall expire and be deemed repealed on December 31st, 2027. Finally, again, all those who have not already signed up and wish to speak at this hearing should identify themselves in the chat so that we can call you to testify.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael Reyes, Deputy General Counsel for DCAS. And the first person that we're going to call to testify is Michael Clark, who's the General Counsel at DCAS. I see that there's a question, but we'll wait for, or if you have a question, you can put it in the chat. So Michael, are you ready?
Yes, the goal of this rule is to create a pathway for competitive and labor class employees who were terminated for failure to take the COVID vaccine, who would normally be reinstated. The reinstatement rule for dismissed employees is normally under PRR 6.2.6, and this will create a 6.28, which will create a new pathway for, as I said, competitive and labor class employees to seek reinstatement. After this hearing, we'll take comments and evaluate, and it will be sent to the New York City Civil Service Commission for final approval. Thank you.
Just in addition, thank you, Michael. In addition, we have a list of people who sign up to testify. So first, we're going to go through that list, and then after all those people who have already signed up to testify have testified, we'll be calling on anybody else who didn't sign up. So if you're interested in testifying, you can add your name and title or a background or affiliation to the chat, and then we'll add you to the list and call you after everybody who has signed up to testify. And I will also note that generally we'll give people up to 5 minutes to testify. And if even if you don't get to say, if you need more time, you would be able to offer, written testimony. The hearing will remain open until November 24th to offer testimony. So you'll have an opportunity to do that, even if you don't have the time. Now, so the next person that I'm going to call is Andrew Ansborough, the president of the Uniformed Firefighters of Greater New York. Mr. Ansborough, are you? Can you unmute yourself? Are you there? James, do you see Mr. Ansborough on the list?
I don't, but just a second here. Let's see if I can. Here. Okay. He should be able to unmute himself now. Mr. Ansborough, if you've called in, you should be able to unmute yourself. It's *6 to unmute yourself if you need to.
Well, if you're not available, Mr. Ansborough, or we can come back to you. The next is Phyllis. Phyllis Incerillo, are you?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you're ready. So the next person will be Miss Incerillo, the Chief of Staff of the Office of the Minority Leader, Councilmember John Arreola, New York City Council District 32. Go ahead, Miss.
Hi, yes, good morning, everybody. Thank you for holding this hearing. While we appreciate time being given once again for our terminated workers to return due to the unlawful vaccine mandate that was put into place in 2021, we are concerned with the fact that this is not including people who were forced to resign or people who were forced to retire, as was included in the 2023 return. We requested from DCAS some answers to questions, and that was one of the answers that dismissed in the rule only pertains to terminated workers. So we'd like for that to be reconsidered to also include those who were forced to resign and forced to retire at the time of the vaccine mandate. We would also like to just clarify that we are very happy to hear that, as was different with some of the members of service in 2023 when they returned, that DCAS is not requiring a waiver of any civil service rights, which is definitely something that should have been done in 2023 at the time of the return, because we have workers that will now return 2 more years later that could have been on the workforce that is much needed, especially within our first responding agencies. So again, we want to thank everyone for their time with this. And we also want to make sure that we are reaching out to as many workers as possible. I hope that the unions, as well as the agencies and the city, reach out to anyone who was dismissed at the time of the vaccine mandate in 2021 to make sure that they know that this process is in place. I know that there was some reach out through what was said to me by DCAS, by the administration through press releases and in the city record, but not everybody sees that. Not everybody sees press releases from Mayor Adams. And we definitely need to make sure that we are letting everyone know that their eligibility for reinstatement is available. I don't know if there's emails that could be sent to former workers or anyone that was terminated at the time due to the vaccine mandate in 2021. But I hope that the city does do the right thing and make sure that everyone is reached out to that is eligible for this. We need teachers, we need firefighters, we need police officers, we need DSMY workers, and I could go on, but it is very important. And the minority leader has made this a very important part of her administration to make sure that the members of service and the members of our civil service groups receive equal rights and are treated respectfully and have their medical freedom not be dismissed by this city. So thank you again all, and I hope that they will reconsider the terminated workers the dismissed workers to include those who were forced to resign and those who were forced to retire. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cirillo. So the next person we'll call is Patricia Finn, who is an attorney. And Ms. Finn, are you available?
I am.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I currently represent a group of municipal employees that have been terminated, and this question comes from them, or these questions. So, although they're comments. So the number one question is, does the rule for
Miss Finn, I think other James, are you hearing her? I think we
Okay.
lost.
No. Oh, we got her
Okay.
back. There we go.
Okay.
I'll repeat that. Reinstatement, including back pay, lost benefits, restoration of tenure and status. The second comment is, will any agreement include those forced to retire that Ms. Ariola just pointed out, and include lost wages, benefit, pension credits? I'm curious, and my clients would like to know if any reinstatement agreement would include those forced to retire, lost wages, benefits, pension. And how will the city treat depleted pensions while terminated? Many of the terminated employees lived off their pensions. There is an issue of licensing. Will licensing for certain positions like EMT, gun permits, etc., that were required for the job, will they be refunded or reinstated and paid for as part of the reinstatement? As for any waiver of legal liability, it needs to be made clear that the condition of acceptance does not bar or waive any existing claims or future class action claims. Now, whatever the city decides, I think it just needs to be made clear. I'm also curious myself about future COVID cases, if there happens to be an increase. How will this affect the employees rehired? Will they be subject to exclusion or another exemption process? And I agree with Ms. Ariola that there needs to be further outreach to all service members. I represent several clients that had no idea about this rule. So those are the comments from the Finn firm on behalf of my clients, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Finn. So the next person is St. George Joe, who is the chief legal officer. I don't have the where at, so if you can introduce yourself. Are you there, Miss Joe?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, you go
Okay.
ahead.
Good morning. My name is Joe St. George. I'm Chief Legal Officer of the Women of Color for Equal Justice and Advocacy Center out of Arizona. I'm here today to speak clearly and unequivocally. The termination of New York City employees for refusing the COVID-19 vaccine was not simply a policy disagreement. It was an attack on the civil rights of every New York City worker because it was a direct violation of constitutional and federal statutory law. First, let me be clear. Every New Yorker and all Americans possess the God-given inalienable right, however a person defines their belief system, to decide what goes inside their body and to refuse unwanted medical treatment, which right was not lost because of a pandemic. That right is secured by the First Amendment Free Exercise Clause, by longstanding Supreme Court precedent protecting bodily autonomy, and by the Occupational Safety and Health Act, which governs all public employers in New York under the New York OSHA state plan. Let me be absolutely direct. The city of New York had no legal authority to impose a vaccine mandate as a condition for retaining employment when federal workplace safety standards already governed the field, preempted the field, and the mandate conflicted directly with the duties of the workers and the city under the OSHA Act through the New York OSHA plan, which applies by its terms to public employers, including the city of New York. That is law. Under the plan, the city was required to use only OSHA-approved engineering controls, ventilation, masking, air purification systems to reduce the airborne viral exposures. And these approved equipments, are 99.9% effective, according to OSHA's own scientific record and the OSHA General Duty Clause, which requires employees to only comply with OSHA-approved safety methods. By contrast, vaccinations has never been an OSHA-authorized safety measure for airborne hazards in the workplace atmosphere or in the public spaces where workers exist, or public buildings owned by the city. That's the law. And the OSHA Act, Section 28.5, expressly states no employer, public or private, may require a medical treatment, immunization, it specifically says, procedure over the religious objections of workers. When the city fired its employees for refusing medical treatment, that they violated the federal laws and the rights of employees, forcing them to be committed, which resulted in the most heinous civil rights violation in plain sight. And federal law is unmistakable. Under OSHA Section 11C2, employees subjected to retaliation for refusing unlawful medical directives must be automatically reinstatement. I will say that once again. OSHA Act Section 11C2 states that employees subject to retaliation for refusing unlawful medical directives must automatically be reinstated without condition and made whole. That is not discretionary. That is the law. What happened to these workers represents one of the most serious violations of civil liberty since the era of Jim Crow, and I can say that as an African American. The harm inflicted on city workers, thousands of whom were terminated, coerced in retirement, and forced to resign. Many were lifelong civil servants, women and people of color, forced into financial ruin. The city's vaccine mandate targeted livelihoods, divided families, and stripped employees of the very rights that they were constitutionally and statutorily entitled to rely on during a time of crisis. And the most egregious part of this, the city received over $100 million in federal funds, as confirmed by your comptroller's financial report of 2021, to purchase OSHA mandated equipment that made vaccinations unnecessary. Instead, the city ignored federal law, ignored civil rights protections, and punished its own workforce along with the private sector workforce in the city. It is for these reasons that I've submitted the proposed amendment to your Rule 62.8, which must include mandatory all restoration of title, salary, benefits, seniority, pension tier, and credit retirement years. And that's those who were pushed in retirement, those who are forced to resign. A 360-day application window. It's really outrageous that you're giving people 30 days to respond to something that they don't even know or aware of. It is disingenuous. Reinstatement without new probation or medical waivers, direct written notice to every affected worker, and retroactive application with no 2027 sunset, meaning for those who were reinstated in 2023, this will apply to them retroactively. These amendments are not optional. They are required to bring the city into compliance with federal law and to repair partially the civil rights stolen. And I say partially because I do represent a class. We are in the Court of Appeals right now, and they still have a right under the OSHA Act 2 and under Section 1983, which is applicable to the city, to back pay and compensatory damages and even punitive damages. This, our proposal does not allow for waivers of those rights for anybody. Today, DCAS has the opportunity to correct an unprecedented injustice, to restore dignity to the city's own workforce, and to reaffirm that no New Yorker ever forfeits their God-given rights, or rights how they define their belief system, whether they believe or not, especially in a time of crisis when OSHA has provided sufficient equipment to deal with any airborne hazard that can kill you instantly.
Apologies,
Finally,
Ms. St. George. Yeah, thank you. You're 2 minutes over, please.
I urge you all to just read my appellate brief linked into my letter submitted for the details regarding the OSHA Act and its applicability to the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. St. George, and apologies for mixing your last name earlier.
Hey, Michael, can I say a brief piece?
Sure, go ahead.
Just a small housekeeping rule. If folks can please keep the chat clear, except for requests to testify or maybe simple questions about sort of procedure. You know, if people are sort of generally chatting about the rule or saying things like right on, go for it, it makes it a little bit hard to sort of track actual requests to testify in the hearing. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you, James. And I see that there are some people who have their hands up. If you would just, you know, if you should, unless if you haven't included yourself to testify, you can add yourself to the list, and then whatever question you have that you want to raise, you will do that during that time, because I'm not going to call on you other than to call you to testify. All right, so then the next person is that we're going to hear from is Audrey Dennis. Miss Dennis, are you available? Are you there?
And just a reminder, if you're on a phone, it's *6 to unmute yourself.
All right, since let me move on to the next person. Orline Borno, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, wow, thank you for all of those who spoke before me. You kind of stole my thunder, but thank you for bringing those very important points. Good morning, members of City Council. My name is Orline Borno. I'm not an attorney. I am just a regular New York City teacher for 26 years who service the wonderful students of Queens, New York. I live in Baldwin, Long Island, but I'm a native New Yorker. And as I said, for 26 years of teaching, my purpose today is just to inform you and to ask you to support the proposed rule today to help unvaxxed city workers, not just teachers, but all of us, to be reinstated with back pay. Back pay for me is a sticking issue. I was very disappointed that it was not part of the proposal. I would love to see City Council revisit that. Back pay must be something that must be talked about. and pushed. I know personally many of my fellow teachers and also city workers who did not take the vaccine, including myself. Major financial instability. Some of us lost our homes, our relationships, our marriage were broken apart. And of course, our professional instability that happened as well. I personally cannot go back to the city of New York. Hopefully this proposal will help us get me back and create a pathway. I had to take a job that's nowhere near the salary that I had. I have a child who was with disability, and I'm grateful that I have a husband that support me, but I know a lot of people who are single parents and who are doing it all on their own. So I had to reinvent the wheel after 26 years of service. So I want to see our unions, the UFT in particular, who did not stand up for us, who did not provide any pathway, nor any support for reinstatement, nor provided me, myself, for 26 years of tenured teacher with no due process. That has to be addressed. I am so grateful for Teachers for Choice, Educators for Freedom, who's been there as a guiding force for all of us teachers who had no one to go to. Our union turned our back on us. So once again, I am looking for this proposal to be passed, but I said earlier, with some clear guideline for all city workers to be made whole again. So I thank you for allowing this resolution to be put forward, especially for those council members who fought with Teachers for Choice and Educators for Freedom for 4 years of supporting us and listening to us, where everyone else turned their back on us. Members of city councils, I don't have their names in front of me right now, they were there for us. And I thank you strongly with all my heart. Thank you again, City Council, for allowing this resolution to be put forward. And I'm praising, and I want to support, and I want to say, hang in there, all our city workers. I pray for you and your families, especially during the holidays. I know it's going to be a hard holiday again for us, but I pray that members of city councils do right by all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Borna. Just to be clear, we're DCAS, and obviously the city council is the city council, and this rule is specifically to amend the personnel rules with respect to competitive and labor class employees. But let me see. I'll move on to Miss. I think there was somebody else who I skipped. Miss Dennis, go ahead.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Audrey Dennis, and you may contact me via email at astuden@yahoo.com. I am a proud member of Teachers for Choice, and I'm being represented by Women of Color for Equal Justice. Also, I'm affiliated with MAHA and Medical Freedom Fighters. I do support the proposed rule 6.2.8 to reinstate any employee like myself who were dismissed for non-compliance with COVID-19 vaccine, or any worker in New York City who were coerced to resign, retire, or those who waive their rights in order to return to work. However, I am interested, and I hear you say you're not the one who compensates the workers, but I do want to have it stated that we must receive back pay and with our benefits. And I support all that was said before by Miss Joe St. George, Miss Ariola, and Miss Finn. I'm not feeling too good, so please excuse me if you hear. I have a little respiratory issue. Prior to October 4, 2021, I worked as a school secretary with the New York City Department of Education under Mayor Bill de Blasio and continuing under this mayoral control governance with Eric Adams and the current mayor of the city. And without any direct communication, on February 11, 2022, unconstitutionally and wrongfully, I was terminated from my job of almost 30 years for refusing to be coerced into taking the COVID vaccine. And Mr. Adams lifted this mandate February 6, 23, allowing some of us to find our foot back into a workplace. But prior to that, we had struggles because there was a problem code that was placed in our record with the FBI. And this problem code is an infraction, a terrible thing that has been done to innocent people like myself. Is an infraction normally assigned to a DOE employee's record for alleged concerns with serious conduct that may pose a threat to children or violations affecting a job performance. The DOE, along with the union, that's the United Federation of Teachers, who has turned their backs on us completely, who with the one rule said we must take the mandate, did not ratify our union. So the DOE, along with the union, working with the staff members in question, would still be on payroll until the case is decided, excuse me, by an arbitrator. However, in my case, I had done nothing wrong, yet I was not given any due process for refusing this vaccine. But with the conditions that have been implemented by the powers that be, I had to request a waiver through my religion, and my church was out there advocating for the vaccine. So they said, if your church is out there publicly doing that, they won't accept anything. And all of a sudden, people in this midst became so religious. They were the ones deciding our fate. So whatever belief I sent to them from a pastor that we did get, they did not, they right away dismissed it. And so this was a non-religious body that was set up by the DOE, the former mayor, and so forth. So this body of individuals was created by Martin Scheinman, the main arbitrator for the DOE. And this problem code, which was placed in my record with the FBI, prevented anyone from hiring me during the time I was seeking work after losing my job. Also, all this time, attorneys arguing cases for terminated city workers faced an appeal thereafter by Eric Adams and the legal team of the DOE, using our tax dollars, your tax dollars and my tax dollars, over and over again to fight a case that should not have been before the courts in the first place. What has happened to me all these many wasted years? According to Long Island Jewish Hospital, I lost my mother due to COVID. She just went in there and they used intubator, put it down her throat. We never got to see her, said goodbye, spend no time with her. Same thing happened to my sister who took the vaccine. Worked almost 36 years with the police department as an accountant. And she was planning to retire. She was in there for many problems with her main organs, cancer. And then they too put intubator down her throat and she died.
Apologies, Ms. Dennis. Can you please finish up your 5 minutes?
Yes, thank you. Okay, information then. Not only am I the only one in my household who lost my job and losing my mom and my sister, and never ever seen so many people losing so much in a household. So we must think about those things, even parents burying their children. Now, my husband was coerced into retiring as well. He wasn't planning to retire in the middle of the year. And so was my son, who had just received tenure. He too had to put in his paper and resign. And all three of us didn't have to have any jobs, had to rely on our savings. So now Mr. Eric Adams is leaving office. Mr. Mamdani, I don't know what he has in plan for us, because he was not on the side of people like myself who've lost our jobs, and neither was Mr. Cuomo. So Mr. Sliwa was the one who was there for us. So we were supporting him and hoping that he would have been in. So now that he's not in and it's Mr. Mamdani, we are asking him to have a heart, put himself in our shoes, and see how he would feel if he's on the other side when families have now been separated and all that you've heard so far that has happened to people like myself. I thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right, the next person we'll call is Jim Brosi, the president of the Uniformed Firefighters. Are you there, Mr. Brosi?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
So first, I'd like to say just thank you to DCAS for making this proposal and trying to undo a wrong that was done to the majority of our members who had remained reluctant to take the vaccine. I do share in some of the concerns that were brought up by Phyllis regarding the exclusion of people who were not recognized in this bill who actually resigned or retired as opposed to being terminated. Unfortunately for us, we represent the more senior portion of the membership in the New York City Fire Department, most of which were eligible for retirement at the time of the vaccine mandate. And after exhausting all of their options regarding a reasonable accommodation, they were then retired even if they had not applied for an application for retirement. And for those who wanted to maintain a benefit, that they were forced to actually submit a retirement paper or be placed on leave without pay, in which case they would have no income. And so I know it may be an oversight not to include people who had retired. That was the lion's share of our people. And as one might imagine, this was probably what I would say one of the most horrific acts you could have done to first responders who remained on the front line with limited or no protection when the extent of what the disease could cause to our members was unknown. There was no priority for us to gain hospitalization if we became ill, responding to the people who were dying in the streets and in their homes. And yet, despite doing that for months on end until the disease had stabilized, we had achieved natural immunity just through the cross-contamination which we were experiencing in the firehouse on a routine basis, which was well documented in medical records kept by the New York City Fire Department. The very few members that we had remained that asked for an exemption not only were dramatically impacted after providing this service, but were then forced to move to a pension system long before they were ready to retire. And I do share in Phyllis's concern on both what will happen to their lost time, their lost pay, and how this will impact the money they've already withdrawn from the pension system. And I know some of these things are outside the purview of DCAS. I just strongly ask you to consider expanding this umbrella to the terminated as well as the retired so that we capture all people that were forced to remove themselves from city service, and to recognize that not only their request for a reasonable accommodation or their reluctance to take the vaccine has been validated in either the science that is now available or the known suppression of information that they were relying on when they chose not to take the vaccine, especially for those who had already experienced natural immunity. Like I said, I appreciate the testimony of all that came before us. And I think the one common ground that we all have is there was a significant unnecessary suffering that came as a result of this mandate, despite the fact that the majority of the people that still were providing service to the public were not only naturally immune, but had moved past the virus and was still servicing the people of the city of New York. And unfortunately, through some political desire, we became the victims of a political act by being forced into a mandate that did not provide the protection we had hoped for. Thank you for your time, and I really appreciate you bringing this to the attention and expanding this reach to the members who were unfortunately forgotten.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brosi. So the next person is Sarah Coombs Moreno, a former DOE teacher. Go ahead, Ms. Coombs Moreno. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning, everyone. As stated, my name is Sarah Coombs Moreno. I am a former New York City Board of Education teacher, grades 6 through 12 or 7 through 12, right? I want to take the opportunity to, first of all, to thank my Lord and Savior, Yeshua, to thank my Heavenly Father, Yahuwah Tzvaot, which means God of hosts, the I am that I am, the I will be that I will be. For I feel that I have, and I know that I have been supported all this time through this very tough experience that we have all experienced here. I want to say that I have been teaching for over 22 years with highly effective ratings. I had submitted my letter of medical exemption and my religious exemption, along with another co-worker. Her name is Winder Lopez. We both had received the same letter from our pastor, who is definitely, you know, in the same agreement that our bodies are our heavenly temple. And when we both submitted our applications, Ms. Lopez was exempted and I was not exempted. I had asked for there to be a reason why, if we both submitted the same exact, letter application, why she was exempted and I was not, and I was not given any reasons why her exemption should go through and mine did not. In spite of that, I still continued to submit other letters, letting the administration know that I was willing to wear, as lawyer Joe St. George had mentioned, to follow the OSHA rules in terms of having my, protective gear throughout the day. And I was also willing to take any test that needed to be taken at, as they saw fit. And I was still denied. I am appalled at what has happened to me. I have been hurt beyond words. Emotionally, mentally, physically, I've been affected by this great injustice that I have had to endure. Not only did I have to endure this injustice, but I as well have a daughter who is of special needs, who lost her services because my medical rights were taken away as well. She was to receive ABA services, and she lost out on it. The doctor that she had, we had to change the doctor. My husband, who is insulin dependent, was also affected as a result of this and had to take on more of the weight that he needed not take. I have family in other countries that depended on me to be able to help them financially, and I was unable to do that. So today, I ask you to please rectify the wrong that has been done. I had one more year to retire under the 2555 retirement plan. Thank you. Under the 2555 retirement plan. And I want to get back my time that was unjustly taken away from me. I ask you, please, to, look at the proposal that Joe St. George had submitted, and please help to make us whole again, to restore what has been taken away from us. Because good teachers and other workers like myself should not have been punished for exercising their right over their God-given bodies. And I thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And I pray to God that justice be served.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz Moreno. The next person we'll hear from is Tim Hayden. Sorry if I mispronounced that. The former lieutenant in the fire department. Are you there, Tim?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'll be quick. I just want to point out a couple things real quick. Going back to what Phyllis and Sorella said, I received registered mailings terminating me. I think DCAS should press upon the agencies to send out registered mail to those affected by the leaving, not necessarily by being terminated. And many did not have the the 20 plus years, Mr. Ansborough didn't speak for his members. Most of his members who left did not have 20 plus years and were not able to use their retirements. And hopefully you can press on the agencies about the expediency. We're run down, as somebody mentioned earlier, 30-day window. This is kind of lunacy after 4 years. And then I would ask for some empathy on behalf of the DCAS, because as you're hearing these stories, just realize what most of us have gone through for the past 4 years, being out of work and all this. And you know, while most of the rest of America was sitting at home working remotely, we were all essential workers, and we were out there and, you know, interacting with people constantly. And if you believe everything that they told us at the time, we should all be dead. So I'd just like to make you realize that what they told us was not factual, or we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So maybe that'll help you understand where we were coming from then, even if you didn't agree with us then. I would think that at this point you would realize that maybe it wasn't factual things we were being told. I think that's it. I just wanted to make sure a couple points. Most that we notified people properly, like I said, registered mail. That's how I was terminated, and that we expedite the process for all these agencies. And you at DCAS set down the markers, because I think what we're going to hear is every agency is going to have a separate method to do this, and they need your guidance. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next person is Jean Elizabeth. Not sure if I have your last name correct.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
It's
You can
okay.
introduce yourself.
I'm here.
Oh, go
Hi,
ahead.
good morning. My name is, hi, good morning. My name is Miss Jean, actually, that's my married name, so a little bit of
Okay.
a confusion there. That's why it comes up. Anyway, I am a 17-year teacher from the New York City Department of Education who was terminated. Well, I shouldn't say terminated. I was let go October 4th, 2021 due to the vaccine mandate. I was told not to return to my building after working 17 years. I had the highest seniority in the special education department. I had tenure, and I was told not to return. I chose not to be vaccinated, and I was forced to resign under duress because I was told I couldn't work somewhere else if I did not resign from the New York City Department of Ed. Having a household to run, a family to take care of, that was my only option. So as I tried for a religious exemption, we weren't given any explanation as to why we were denied. Later on, we found out that they were told, and the Department of Ed has on record in a deposition, that they blanketly denied all religious exemptions, medical exemptions. Like my previous colleagues who spoke earlier, I agree with everything they've said. It has caused so much financial hardship. We didn't just lose a salary, we lost pension credits, we lost medical benefits, we lost the opportunity to join into a lot of discounted group rated insurance policies for life insurance, extra, comprehensive medical insurance, things that we gained by being a part of such a big city system. All of these losses hit financially, and I now work 7 jobs to make the money of 1. I also had the problem code, which stopped me from getting work. I had to constantly try to find work and get told, we can't hire you, there's a problem code. So there was issues with that, rehiring in other places, not the city, because when they lifted the vaccine mandate, they started hiring people back, and I tried to get a job, but being a higher paid teacher, 17 years tenured, no one wants to take you back in. You're making over 100,000, and that also hurt because they were telling you to find your own job. So my hope from this hearing is that you are going to place people back into positions where they left, give them back pay, because we suffered for 4 years piecemealing together jobs, just like my previous, colleagues have spoken about, having to work jobs, making less money, struggling, leaving homes, losing homes, moving in with family. All of these financial hardships did really affect a lot of the city workers, not just the teachers. And I think back pay, although you can't decide back pay, needs to be a part of this process. The forced resignation needs to be looked at. I would not have resigned from my job 17 years. I'm now 54. I have 1 year left for my 25, 55. I would never give that up. So a lot of these things were not even given to us. We didn't have proper direction from our union. We didn't have proper direction from our colleagues. Nobody knew what was going on. So although this hearing is for reinstatement, it also needs to be, like we heard other people say, clear. Everybody's situation is different. I'm different than my colleague who spoke before me, who spoke after me. Everybody needs to have the time to figure out what their process is. We didn't get that time. It was a rush to fire, and now it's a rush to hire, and people are not going to make decisions without proper information. I've heard that they want to put us back in the ATR base. What does that mean? What does that look like? I don't think that's fair for a teacher who worked 17 years. I have a master's degree and 30 credits above, and it all went down the tubes when they said you can't come back to work on October 4th. And I would really like to see back pay and reinstatement processes, individualized meetings, or some way of getting people grouped together so we understand what's going to be the next steps for us. And that's it.
Thank you. Want to mention what James had said earlier in terms of we still, and if you want to speak, you can either offer the testimony or you can speak, ask to speak and mention it rather than put it on the chat, because that's not the opportunity to offer testimony through the chat. And sorry, Ms. Gina, you just want to, yes, thank you again for testifying. All right, so the next person is John McCary Jr., former NYPD.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hey, how's everybody doing? First of all, I want to thank DCAS for having this meeting. Appreciate it. I'm a former NYPD lieutenant. I was forced to retire with 18 years on, even though I was 5-point rated nearly my entire career, and I was never a subject of discipline my entire 18-year career. So I was forced into an early retirement over the COVID-19 mandate. After I was infected by COVID in the line of duty, when I came back to work at the height of the mandate, I was instructed by NYPD doctors to not take the vaccine as I was a candidate to have an adverse side effect. I submitted both a medical accommodation and a religious accommodation, and those were both denied. So I agree with Minority Leader Ariola when I ask, and I don't know if it's in your purview, that people like myself could be considered to come back, people that were denied religious and medical accommodations, as we see now that those were done arbitrarily. So I agree with them on that, but I understand this is about the terminated workers, the people who were officially terminated, and I think that the time frame is super short. If there's any way that people, I believe that the people that were terminated and the people that are in that purview, that they should be notified, and that it should be at least in a business day setting, a 30 business days. I think December 5th is an extremely short window. The other thing I would just like to point out is, regardless where you stand on vaccines or any of these issues, this is more of a civil rights process issue. We're all city workers, or we all were city workers, and I think that what happens here and what has happened dictates all of our rights and our due process rights. Currently, as it sits in the NYPD, we have cops accused of murder, we have cops accused of rape, we have cops accused of robbery, and they are given due process. They await a department trial. That department trial happens after they've received a criminal trial, and then a decision's made on to whether they'll keep their jobs or not. The individuals that were affected during this mandate were never accused of any crime. They were never accused of any administrative failures. As it relates to the NYPD, they didn't even violate a section in the NYPD's own patrol guide. So I just want to put, that was the point that I just want to bring into this, is that It was really egregious what happened. It did set us back a long, probably since the Jim Crow law. Like, it set civil rights back and labor rights. Our labor contracts were violated, and people were terminated without even being charged with anything. They were given 7 days and they were terminated. And again, when you look at the hypocrisy of that, I mean, regardless what the issue that we're facing is, whether it's something as egregious as murder or whether it's something as simple as a disagreement with the mandate coming down from the city, I believe that all New York City workers or workers in general should be entitled to due process. And I just hope that you guys, when you do vote on it, that you take that into consideration, that this is a much larger issue than just COVID. This is a issue of civil rights. What do New York City workers, what are the rights that they're entitled to, and what are the due process that they're entitled to? And those were circumvented. Appreciate everybody for their time, and I appreciate everybody for being here. And I just hope that you take that into consideration. And also, like I said earlier, if you take people that were also forced to retire and not be terminated into consideration. The time period obviously is an issue. And, I do believe that these people are entitled to back pay, they're entitled to compensation, and they're entitled to have their time reinstated. And even if that's not the case, there should be some type of buyback, something like that. I just hope that you take that into consideration, that that's not just these people, it actually affects all of our employment. Appreciate everybody for being on here.
Thank you.
Michael,
Mr.
if I can
McCary.
just interrupt. If I could just interrupt, Andrew Ansbro from the UFA is on a phone call and would like to call in, have a question.
Well, he can. I know we called him
Michael, are you
earlier.
hearing me?
Yeah, you can go
I know,
ahead
but
now.
Your Zoom link wasn't quite working for me. Thank you.
So you can go ahead now.
Thank you. I'm Andrew Ansbro, the president of Uniform Firefighter Association. The UFA represents the ranks of firefighter, fire marshals, and the Marine titles, who are among the most dedicated public servants that kept the city functioning through the most difficult days of the COVID-19 pandemic at personal risk, great personal risk to themselves when personal protection wasn't always available. We continue to show up for work and do our jobs, and never let the city down or the city's residents. The UFA supports the addition of Rule 628, which would ensure the reinstatement of the UFA members and other city employees that were wrongfully terminated after having previously placed on involuntary unpaid leave because they had refused to be coerced into compliance with the city's COVID-19 mandate, which was imposed during the emergency period. While it was intended as a public health measure, the city's COVID-19 vaccine mandate created unfair and unequal consequential choices for the workforce. The rapidly imposed vaccine mandate requirement included the threat of a loss of job, which left members little room for individual choices or due process. Many were coerced into getting the shot that they didn't want to get, and many made the choice to unfortunately get terminated. Many of these members served on the front lines as emergency responders for years with unblemished records prior to the pandemic. And for about 18 months prior to the imposition of the vaccine mandate, they continued to serve the city and sacrifice their health and the health and sometimes the lives of their families while fighting against the exposure to the deadly virus. It is these members who were forced to lose their employment for personal or religious convictions and were caught in the city's evolving policy decisions at the time. The addition of Personnel Rule 628 provides an overdue remedy for these affected workers who had their livelihoods disrupted. This rule allowing reinstatement of our members who were dismissed for non-compliance with the COVID vaccine should, however, be accompanied by separate legislation that would ensure the returning employees are made whole, including back pay, lost wages, and the ability to repurchase pension credit for lost service time and salary grades as well. And also, this should be expanded to cover members that took the option to vest out to allow them to come back, and members that were forced into early retirement. Many careers that could have been years or decades longer were cut short due to this ruling, due to this mandate. And also, this was not done by the rest of the state or many other places in the country. The state still allowed people to get tested and wear PPE in place of being forced out of work. I believe that a rule allowing reinstatement of all of our members and back pay for these members and back pension credits will strengthen our city's workforce and show that mutual commitment and trust exists between the city and its workers. Thank you for your attention. And thank you so much for bringing this forward, but unfortunately it's short, but it's a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ansbro, about your testimony specific to the rule. I'll mention again that the proposed rule that we are seeking feedback on applies to labor in non-competitive, labor and competitive employees. And so we're seeking testimony specific to that rule. All right, so the next person.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next person we'll hear from is Hiram Nieves, formerly employed sergeant, or former sergeant. Go ahead, Mr.
Hello,
Nieves.
good morning.
Are you there?
Can you hear
Good
me?
morning. Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Hiram Nieves, and I represent the group of NYPD officers who were dismissed in the form of being forced to retire for refusing to take the COVID-19 vaccine. I was born in East Flatbush and I was raised in Bed-Stuy neighborhood of Brooklyn. The NYPD cops I saw growing up in the crack 80s and 90s were my heroes. As an NYPD explorer and a volunteer auxiliary officer, my dream of becoming a member of New York's finest was beginning. I served in the United States Army, and immediately after my service, and by God's grace, I was sworn in as an NYPD recruit on July 1st, 2004. To that point, nothing was easy. My faith in God is what got me that far. Throughout my career, I experienced many ups and many downs in the department. From fellow officers dying in the line of duty to apprehending a wanted murderer in the New York City subway system. Many changes came from typing evidence vouchers on typewriters, then to utilizing computerized digital systems. In my 17-year career, I saw the NYPD take care of its members. I saw the department become extremely diverse and that its members came from different walks of life, different levels of education, and even different faiths. I saw fellow Jewish officers have religious accommodations to practice the Sabbath and have Friday and Saturday off. I saw fellow Muslim officers have religious accommodations to keep their beards in uniform when beards were prohibited. I saw fellow Sikh officers have religious accommodations to wear turbans in uniforms. I never heard of a religious accommodation being denied or delayed. I was proud of that. I was proud that the NYPD respected different faiths. Then in 2020 came another down, the COVID-19 pandemic, which needs no introduction. I, along with many officers, risked my life for fellow New Yorkers. I patrolled Staten Island at night to address grand larceny autos that were taking place. I continued organized crime investigations. Why? Because crime didn't stop. And again, I relied on my faith and my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. It was a tough time for everyone, but the pandemic started to die down. Things were getting better. And on October 20th, 2021, Mayor Bill de Blasio announced the COVID-19 vaccination mandate for all city workers effective October 29th, 2021. 9 days. He gave us 9 days. I immediately completed a reasonable accommodation request for religious practices and never received a decision. The accommodation was not to take the COVID-19 vaccine because as a Christian, I believe my body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. I am made in God's image, which is a status. Therefore, I will be held accountable for what I do with and put in my body. The NYPD then released an email that stated, in the event a religious accommodation request is denied, the employee will have 3 business days to appeal the decision. If the appeal is denied, the employee will have 6 business days to get the vaccine or be placed on leave without pay and then be terminated. I would not allow myself to be terminated. I was forced to file for retirement because as per the New York Police Pension Fund, in order to leave in good standing, you must retire with a 30-day notice. This standing is known as the good guy letter, which is required in order to be hired as a law enforcement officer anywhere else or gain federal employment. Waiting for an official denial would cause me not to give a 30-day notice. The 3-day appeal plus 6 days to get the vaccine does not add up to 30 days. I would not have left in good standing. I worked too hard on having an impeccable discipline record and an impeccable sick record. I love being a cop in the NYPD. I love protecting my fellow New Yorkers. My career was cut short. It was unfair. But God is great. As a Christian, we don't fight our battles with violence or hate. We fight our battles on our knees. I suggest that this proposal needs to include forced retirement, resigned, vested, anybody like that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Nieves. Just want to announce that at 11:30 we'll take a 10-minute break until, but we'll continue until then. So the next person is Akila Norris, a former 3K teacher. Can oh, go ahead, Miss Norris. Are you there?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, DCAS. I really align with the intention of this 628 bill. However, there are 3 points that I would like to discuss in regards to what needs to be amended. And one of them is the fact that they're asking us to write a letter for reinstatement. And I feel that the reciprocity needs to come from the city. They automatically fired us, therefore they should automatically reinstate us. I feel that we should be receiving a letter saying, hey, we reviewed this, you know, we went over this, we've had 4 years of this, and we would like to rectify this situation. You are reinstated, and here's your onboarding process. Because they did not give us any due process, and it felt very punitive. We haven't had any pay since October 4th of 2021. That's the educators, at least. And right now I'm a little bit nervous because I'm trying not to be emotional. I'm trying to just stick to the program, which is the actual bill that's at hand. However, my life has been impacted in ways that I can't even express. Going from having no pay from October 4th, 2021, and being an educator of 21 years, not thinking that the city would do anything like this. I worked at the same school at PS 158 all of those years because I loved it. I loved it, and my identity was so wrapped around being a teacher. So to be fired for my religious beliefs, which were held throughout my whole career, like it was on record. I didn't vaccinate my children. It wasn't just a COVID thing. It was a life thing. Like this wasn't just the one instance. So being terminated has, of course, impacted my finances. I was the sole provider of my family, caring for my mother because my father did die during COVID, and my mother depended on my income, and I no longer was able to do that. Now, the other issue is protecting tenure. I would like for it to address the fact that our tenure is in place and the time from when we were fired, that those steps are still in place. Like we get the pay that we would be earning had we still been working for 2025. I would like for back pay to be considered, but at this point, I'm so ready to go back to work because debt is astronomical, and I'm in jeopardy of losing my home as we speak because I tried to hold on as long as I could. So I'm ready to go back to work. So I'm ready to just have the salary that I would have been making at had I been there to 2025. And the back pay can be addressed at another time. I also would like for us to consider all of the people who had to retire that weren't ready to retire. And so I just share all of the sentiments of all of the people who have already spoken. But again, I do want to emphasize they terminated us without any help or assistance from us. They can reinstate us because my concern is returning back to my building And the principal is like, well, I already filled your position. So how are we handling that? And I don't think that should be on us to do. So thank you for hearing me. And I know that the right decisions will be made in our favor. That is a win-win for all of us. Thank you.
I thank you. The next person is Mawali Olivier. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
So my name is Mawili Oliveri. I'm teacher with the New York City Department of Education for the past 23 years. I worked at Park Place Community Middle School in Brooklyn. I applied for a religious exemption and was also denied, like everyone else. I just want to say I appreciate the words of everyone that's spoken for me, and I know I will appreciate the words of those that are coming after me, because what New York City has done is an assault. It's an assault on New York. It's an assault on the workers of New York and the citizens of New York. I've lived in New York. I was born in New York, raised in New York. I went to school in New York. I suffered the loss of my mother at 18. I did everything that everybody told you to do: go to school, get a job, get a career. I did that and made my way 23 years as a teacher, teaching other young men like myself. And the only I guess hindrance that I've had in this journey of my life as a New Yorker came from the city of New York. And I think it's important that New York recognize what it has done to New Yorkers. I think it's at a time where, in order to fix this, it's important that New York recognize that it was wrong and make an amends for that. And while I support the proposed rule to reinstate workers, I agree with Akila that the city did not need our help to fire us. The city should simply tell us when we should come in. And I also feel like the back pay is paramount. I think back pay and restoration of our tenure, restoration of years of service, and lost benefits should all be on the table. Why? Because the city at this point is wrong. The city was wrong and remains wrong. And by not doing these things, the city takes a wrong and strong approach. And also doesn't take the position as the leader of its citizen, but takes the position as dictator of the people of New York. And I have a letter here written July. It's a statement written by the then CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, on Friday, July 30th, 2021. And I'd like to highlight that we were fired. We were put on leave without pay October 4th, 2021. But this letter came out before that, which states, on July 27th, the CDC, and I'm reading the letter right now. You can see this, right? This is the letter from the CDC director. It says, on July 27th, the CDC updated its guidance for fully vaccinated people, recommending that everyone wear a mask indoors, in indoor public settings in areas of substantially high transmission, regardless of vaccination status. This decision was made with the data and science available to the CDC at the time, including a valuable public health partnership resulting in a rapid receipt and review of unpublished data. Today, some of those data were published in CDC's Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, demonstrating that the Delta infection resulted in similarly high SARS-CoV-2 viral loads in vaccinated and unvaccinated people. High viral loads suggest an increased risk of transmission and raise concerns that, unlike with other variants, vaccinated people infected with the Delta can transmit the virus. This finding is concerning and was a pivotal discovery leading the CDC to update its mask mandate. The masking recommendation was updated to ensure the vaccinated public would not unknowingly transmit the virus to others, including their unvaccinated or immune-compromised loved ones. So if you understand, that report came out before city workers were fired, the CDC suggesting that the vaccinated and the unvaccinated carry the same viral load. So it is absolutely an offense to those of us who were fired for not taking a vaccine that would not have even prevented the transmission of the disease. So we were actually fired for no reason. We were actually fired because the city was acting like a bulldog and a bully to those who had religious objection and health objections, or just even personal objections to taking medical treatment that they did not believe in. So I think based on that and other evidence that more alarming evidence that I've been listening to, I think it's important that this proposed rule to reinstate unvaccinated workers back to their prior position also includes, it should be mandatory that it includes back pay, restoration of time, restoration of services, and also an apology. Because at the end of the day, I think what we have done as the unvaccinated populace of New York, we've led the way in showing how the city was wrong. And I think we deserve an apology from the city. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's also important to protect the democracy in America, to protect civil rights in America.
Apologies, Mr. Olivier, but you're out of time. Can you finish up?
Yeah, I'll finish. I think it's important to protect the civil rights of the United States, because as New Yorkers, we don't look good. We don't look good. And when you look at how the other states have handled the pandemic, it's almost embarrassing to call ourselves New Yorkers. So I think a public apology is definitely on the way and is warranted at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. I think before we go on the break, I'll just call one more person and then we'll go on the break. Mr. John Ruiz, are you available?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. My name is John Ruiz. I was an NYPD police officer who was terminated from service in February of 2022 for noncompliance with the COVID vaccine mandate. First and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude to Mayor Adams and DCAS for revisiting this issue and allowing those of us who are outcasts the opportunity to continue our service to the city. With that being said, I would like to address some concerns with the proposed rule. Excuse me. It has been 4 years since I lost my position at the NYPD for refusing to comply with the COVID-19 mandate, a rule that I think many would agree was a heavy-handed approach to a pandemic that was already in its waning phase. I, like many others, so-called essential workers, was expected to work through the entirety of the pandemic, continuing to serve the city in a moment of uncertainty. I contracted COVID early on in the pandemic, when much of the disease was still an unknown to both medical professionals and the public alike. I recovered after a 2-week sick leave and was healthy enough to be sent back to work. Then approximately a year and a half later, at the end of Mayor de Blasio's term, as the city began to see the end of the pandemic on the horizon, he decided to codify the COVID vaccine mandate. A mandate which allowed for many exemptions for performers and athletes, but not private or public sector workers, allowing religious and medical exemptions for some and not allowing for others. Some would say, including many judges, that the mandate was applied in an arbitrary and capricious manner. Now it is 4 years and many pending lawsuits later, and I feel as confident now as I did back then that my skepticism was justified. We endured and withstood a bombardment of shame campaigns and borderline bribery from local government, media, and even the President of the United States. And as time goes on, those of us who stood our ground are being proven to be correct in our convictions. Now that the smoke is cleared, everyone wants to put this moment of history in the past where it belongs. But there is a remnant whose lives were turned upside down and are still feeling the repercussions years later. I consider myself one of the blessed ones for having such a strong support system that I was able to land on my feet after a year and a half of not being able to earn any income in the city. Many others were not so lucky. That's why I ask that those of us who wish to return be made whole. The rule change comes up short in compensating us for interrupted career trajectory, missed promotional opportunities, seniority, years of lost income, and a surprising lack of due process. If you don't find it suitable to compensate us for our trials, at the very least, allow us to continue pursuing legal recourse and let the courts decide on a just outcome. So just to reiterate, I humbly ask that either A, reconsider restoring us our time, rank, and back pay, or B, don't require us to waive our right to legal recourse. Allow our pending litigations to continue in the courts. Once again, I would like to express my gratitude to Mayor Adams and DCAS for revisiting this issue. Let's put this chaotic piece of history behind us so we can focus on bettering the greatest city on earth together. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. So we'll take a 10-minute break and come back at 11:42. So we'll keep the teams on and just yeah, if you could just bear with us for and then we'll come back. We'll go back to the hearing at 11:42 for now. So for now we're on hold. Thanks.
Hello, so this is Rosangel Perez. We are going to be standing by. Yes, for those who are tuning in, this is live. This is a hearing to reinstate fired New York City workers who said no to the jab mandates. And the hearing started at 10 a.m. I want to say thank you to Matt Bravest for Choice for encouraging that we share this live stream today. And just listening back, if you're kind of like listening to everything right now, oh boy, it has been quite a morning listening to the testimonials and feeling the sadness, the hardship for the people that we've met, that and all those stories of all those people. I want to share this quote that I really love so much because it reminds me of this group of people. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. I want to send a shout out to one of my favorite teachers in the world, Michael Caine, Teachers for Choice. I want to also send a love shout to Naomi Wolf, who has been so instrumental to amplifying this here in New York City for us. Many people have not been interested in covering our story, and we've tried. Many of us have tried through all of the outlets. Mainstream media has not been interested. In blue cities, a lot of people maybe accepted the jab, so maybe they're just kind of, hey, leave it in the past. But if you've been listening to the testimonies, you know that a lot of people's lives have been derailed. A lot of people's lives were derailed at the top of their almost pretty much tenured professional careers. You're talking about people with 10, 15, 20 years experience and doing a a job for the city and serving the city in whatever the capacity was, whether it was a teacher, in the healthcare field, as a sanitation worker, as a police officer, they served their city. And they were doing it on the front lines during COVID, and they, they were doing it when there was no PPE and there was all this fear, and they went from heroes to zeros. And what a really sad state of affairs. So, hey, guys, if you're tuning in right now, they're going to be back. It's on a 10-minute break. Thank you, Raisa. 11:42 is when they said they're going to come back. I want to take a moment to play a little video, and I'm going to ask the community, please, if I miss the window when they come back, hit me up on the comments. Let's take a little break to go back in time and listen to some of the lions. Let me see. Okay, so this is Del Bigtree, and it's called The War on the Unvaccinated.
Not write this, but somebody did. Susan, if it's you, this should be holding down a place in every.
And I don't know
not
what
write
that
this,
played.
but somebody did. Susan, if it's you, this should be holding down a place in every textbook in the world in the future. And I'm going to read to you what I think is one of the most eloquently stated statements about what we have just been through and what we must all recognize is now the truth. And for those of you who've been watching the High Wire, this one's for you. Let this sink in. An opinion piece from a vaccinated Australian writer is what it's called. If COVID was a battlefield, it would still be warm with the bodies of the unvaccinated. Thankfully, the mandates are letting up and both sides of the war stumble back to the new normal. The unvaccinated are the heroes of the last 2 years, as they allowed us all to have a control group in the great experiment and highlight the shortcoming of the COVID vaccines. The unvaccinated carry many battle scars and injuries, as they are the people we tried to mentally break. Yet no one wants to talk about what we did to them and what they forced the science to unveil. We knew that the waning immunity of the fully vaccinated had the same risk profile as others within society as the minority of the unvaccinated, yet we marked them for special persecution. You see, we said that they had not done the right thing for the greater good by handing their bodies and medical autonomy over to the state. Many of the so-called health experts and political leaders in Australia admitted the goal was to make life almost unlivable for the unvaccinated, which was multiplied many times by the collective mob, with the fight taken into workplaces, friendships, and family gatherings. Today, the hard truth is none of it was justified as we took a quick slide from righteousness to absolute cruelty. We might lay the blame on our leaders and health experts for the push, but each individual within society must be held accountable for stepping into the well-laid-out trap. We did this despite knowing full well that principled opposition is priceless when it comes to what goes inside our bodies, and we let ourselves be tricked into believing that going into another ineffective lockdown would be the fault of the unvaccinated and not the fault of the toxic policy of ineffective vaccines. We took pleasure in scapegoating the unvaccinated because after months of engineered lockdowns by political leaders blinded by power, having someone to blame and turn to burn at the stake felt good. We believed we had logic, love, and truth on our side, so it was easy to wish death upon the unvaccinated. Those of us who ridiculed and mocked the non-compliant did it because we were embarrassed by their courage and principles and didn't think the unvaccinated would make it through unbroken. And we turned the holdouts into punching bags. Lambie, Carr, Chant, Andrews, McGowan, Gunner, and the other cast of hundreds in prominent roles. And we here in America, we could add Fauci and the rest of them, and Biden in prominent roles need to be held to account for vilifying the unvaccinated in public and fueling angry social media mobs. The mobs, the masked Nazis, and the vaccine disciples have been embarrassed by betting against the unvaccinated because mandates only had the power we gave them. It was not compliance that ended domination by big pharma companies, Bill Gates and his many organizations, and the World Economic Forum. It was thanks to the people we tried to embarrass, ridicule, mock, and tear down. We should all try and find some inner gratitude for the unvaccinated as we took the bait by hating them, because their perseverance and courage bought us the time to see we were wrong. So if mandates ever return for COVID or any other disease or virus, hopefully more of us will be awake and see the rising authoritarianism that has no concern for our well-being and is more about power and control. The war of the unvaccinated was lost, on the unvaccinated was lost. And we should all be very thankful for that.
Oh my God, the first time
that was dope.
the first time that I listened to that, I had tears in my eyes. So, mi gente, if you're tuning in right now, we are standing by. In just a few moments, we are getting ready for part 2 of hearing. It's live to reinstate the fired New York City workers who said no to the jab mandates.
To the hearing. I do see that there are people with hands raised, and as I mentioned before, if you want to speak, you can add your name on the chat, and then you can whatever you want to say. You know, if you have your hands raised, you can say it when you testify. But if you want to indicate that you want to testify, just put it in the chat, and then you'll be added to the list. All right. So the next person is Alexander Tessia, and we have in the description here a former HHC staff, which is a separate municipal jurisdiction under the cities. But go ahead. Are you there, Mr. Tessia?
See, let me just see if I can find her in the list here of attendees. If you are on a telephone, Ms. Tessia, it's *6 to unmute yourself. Or
well, we can come back to
it might be Mr. Tessia.
Alexander.
Yeah.
The next person is Beverly Williams. We didn't. All right, so that I'll just go to the next person. Is Diane Pagan? Are you there, Diane?
I am here. Yes, it's Pagan.
Okay. Pagan, sorry, apologies.
Thank you. That's no problem. Thank you. Okay, everyone. Good afternoon, almost. So I just have a few things to say. I promise to keep within the time.
Thank you.
My name is Diane Pagan, and I'm a licensed social worker from Corona, Queens, and I have 10 years total service so far with the city. So I have 7 years with the New York City Department of Education, and prior to that, I began my city service working for HHC as a social worker. I'm a tenured school social worker now for the New York City Department of Education. I say that I am a social worker, not was a social worker, because although the DOE terminated me in 2021, it did so while I was on unpaid leave, and it failed to issue me any notice at the time. They illegally offered my job at PS 207 to a new recruit in November of 2021 while I was on the unpaid leave. That new recruit was not told that the position that she was being hired into was not vacant. This is why I say that I am a New York City school social worker, because I was not legitimately fired. I appreciate the effort that DCAS is making here today. I agree, for the record, with every person who has testified before me, many of to know each other through this crisis. The proposed Rule 628 with some important additions that will assure that agencies implement this rule justly and kindly. This appeal for justice and kindness is not mere words. We, the workers, have been severely mistreated and harmed by not one but two mayoral administrations so far, with their unethical and unwarranted forced unpaid leaves, public bullying, demotions, forced retirements, and forced terminations perpetrated upon us. We have been lied to, and we can't have any more of these lies and deceptions. There is good reason to mistrust that agencies and unions will act in good faith with this rule. Today, I ask you all at DCAS to make sure that my agency, which is the Department of Education, as well as other agencies, be closely supported and monitored for compliance, professionalism, and decency in this reinstatement process. No agency should be able to attempt anything less than 200% compliance. Unvaccinated DOE employees in particular were subjected to numerous harmful manipulations during the vaccine mandate and even up to today. I'll just tick off a couple of them. The infamous leave without pay that was never part of our contract. The February 2022 firings. The blanket rejections of all of us for unemployment insurance benefits. The secret scarlet letters placed on our files known as problem codes that we still to this day have no assurance have been removed. The former Chancellor of New York City Schools, David Banks, was sent a letter from 9 Congress members back in 2023 demanding answers about the problem codes that were placed on DOE educators' files, and Mr. Banks never even responded to Congress. We were lied to by the last health commissioner, Ashwin Vasan, who told the truth to the Washington Post on August 11, 2022, when he told the Washington Post that the city didn't need a vaccine mandate anymore. But then he kept the mandate in place till February 2023 against his own expert medical opinion under pressure from special interests, probably some of them big pharma. Many of us in DOE were also incredibly told that we need to pay the DOE back for our last paycheck that was issued in October 2021. I personally am one of those people and have been told by the DOE that I owe them money, which is, quite unreal. But it's a but it speaks to my concern that the Department of Education needs monitoring and support to properly and justly implement any rule and any reinstatement process. My additions to the proposed rule are quickly as follows. All agencies must invest in an agreed upon satisfactory amount of outreach to the public with DCAS, including but not limited to posters on school property inviting unvaccinated workers to be reinstated, putting announcements that are easy to see on the homepages of agency websites, announcing the reinstatement rule on official social media websites for all agencies, including Department of Education, radio public service announcements, and reaching out in writing individually to all affected workers. And this, by the way, also means people who were coerced into retirement.
Apologies if you could finish up because you are out of time.
Yes, I will. Okay, thank you. They can fund the outreach from their own budgets, just as they saw fit to spend money to make giant COVID pro-vaccination banners to put all over city schools during COVID. The second thing I'm asking is that we need for this rule to have generous and decent deadlines. 2 weeks or so to respond is insufficient. 30 days is insufficient either. And short deadlines during the vaccine mandate were part of how the DOE abused its own workers. So we really need for DCAS to make sure the agencies cannot use short deadlines to once again abuse us. The third thing is we need for DCAS to make expunging the records of unvaccinated workers of the problem codes that we still, in the DOE, we still believe that those problem codes are on our files. And the last thing we need is for DCAS to include language in the rule that prohibits any similar post-hire conditions of employment so that this never happens to New York City workers again. And the only other thing I would say is just to please keep in mind that perhaps if there is a way to put into the rule some kind of resources and support for older workers, that would be ideal, since most of the unvaccinated terminated like me are older workers, and since the emotional and financial harms done to us are documented in the research to be particularly difficult to recover from. And I thank you. That's all I have to say. Thank you
All
for
right.
your time.
All right, thank you. So the next person is Lisa Schumacher. Says former healthcare worker at H&H. Are you there? Well, I'll go to the.
See, she's been active in the chat, so I assume
okay.
that she's here somewhere. Miss.
I'm trying to
Oh,
unmic.
there we go. We can hear
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry about the delay.
Yeah, we can hear
Okay,
you. Go ahead.
so great. Hello, good afternoon. Almost. My name is Lisa Schumacher. I am an illegally terminated healthcare hero from the public healthcare system, specifically Elmhurst Hospital, which was the epicenter of the epicenter. I had no fear going into work every day because I, thank God, never get flus. I don't even catch a common cold. I am a strong, fortified, immune strong person who never takes vaccines. So I knew I wouldn't catch COVID, and I still have not to this day. I want to thank Miss Jo St. George and Miss Pagan and the rock stars from NYPD and NY and FDNY, the bravest, the finest, and all who've already spoken and reiterated much of what I have to say. Specifically that, yes, indeed, we are still enduring unnecessary suffering, and that's mostly because we have not had any protection, including from our very own union, one of the largest in the nations. And more importantly, legally, we have not received due process. I don't want to speak from a legal or logistical or bureaucratic standpoint. I want to just quickly alert my grassroots experience, which was that I served the city in the darkest days. I was lauded for almost 2 years as a hero. People banged their pots for me. They sent me on free trips. They thanked me. They sent me to the resorts. They put me on aircrafts for free because I was a hero serving without fear. And then all of a sudden, I was a zero because I wouldn't do drugs. I am a drug-free person. I live this way because I don't need a medical intervention such as a pharmaceutical to keep me healthy. I do that all on my own and with the grace of God, who is my true inoculator. I want to incorporate that into the conversation as well. I speak the truth. I stand in the light. And what has happened to us is, as Ms. St. George stated, a direct attack, on our civil rights. And my body, I'm still confused why a woman in New York State, the exact same state I lived in, had a right to her body. For example, she wanted to abort her baby at 9 months. I had no autonomy to refuse an injection. So that unto itself presents a very sort of painful discrimination that I never in my wildest dreams would ever think I would endure in a first world nation. However, I'm moving right along, trying to endure as we speak, and I do, of course, support the rule of 628, mostly because of the financial burdens that we have all endured. Number one, when they won't let you work in what we thought was a free nation, you can't pay your bills. I lost my home of 40 years on the North Shore of Long Island. I lost my academic career. I had to halt my master's degree. I was in a position within the hospital as an empathy trainer, trying to improve healthcare. I lost my medical benefits. I lost not everything, but I lost a lot, but mostly financial. And this is what is happening to thousands of people still. This story, this reality never gets easier to speak about. You think over time, years pass, it gets easier. It never does, because this is probably the most unconscionable thing, well, for certainly that's ever happened to me personally. But in a city where we were applauded, where fires. Well, everyone got to get locked up behind their doors and in their rooms. We went on the front lines and we served, and yet this is what happened to us. In a nutshell,
apologies oh, go ahead.
All right, so that's it. I think you understand my situation. I hope DCAS can have some power in this, and my prayers go out to each and every one of you that's been the victim of this crime. And I send my prayers to all, and thank you for allowing me to speak. Good day.
All right, thank you, Ms. Schumacher. Just want to mention that this rule is for agencies within the jurisdiction of DCAS, and the health as hospital it's outside of DCAS's jurisdiction, but we welcome your testimony. The next person is Kawana Coleman. Are you there, Miss?
And just a note, if you are on calling in by phone, it's *6 to unmute yourself.
If you're having trouble,
so if you're on a phone, it's *6 to unmute. If you're using Teams, there's a mic button.
And you can indicate in the comment whether you're trying to speak when I call on you, and then I can hold off on calling the next person.
I think I might see, is Alexander Ticia here? We had to pass over them earlier. I do see an Alex here in the list of attendees.
Okay, well, let me see. The next person is Christopher Leon Johnson. Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Wait, one second. Sorry, I just came from the city council, so like, okay. One second. Okay. People right here. Don't want to be. Let me know. Let me see. I'm ready. Okay. All right. Can you? Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we could hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Hello. Hello. My name is Christopher Leon Johnson. I want to make this clear that, look, I support the people that's out here that's trying to get their jobs back because of this unfortunate vaccine mandate. But I want to make it clear to the people that are fighting for this vaccine mandate that to expect that this administration right now and the upcoming administration to recompensate you guys for your lost days from unfortunately being fired or be forced to resign or quitting the job because of the vaccine mandate is not going to happen. And I'm going to explain why. Because this city has money that they had to dole out to these corrupt nonprofits, such as these corrupt homeless-based nonprofits. They have to dole out the money to these professional activism organizations, such as Transportation Alternatives and Open Plans and Make the Road New York and Vocal New York, and all these homeless-based nonprofits, such as Housing Works and Women in Need and Help USA, which is ran by Andrew Cuomo. I know a lot of people here on this thing don't like Andrew Cuomo. Help USA is a nonprofit that is a homeless-based nonprofit that gets millions of dollars from the city and the state. These nonprofits in the city are parasitic, and they depend on that money from the city to keep on sustaining their dirty business model. Now, when it comes to the vaccine, when it comes to being recompensated, the problem, like I said before, is that the city has to cook a budget every year. I don't know who your lawyers are, but they need to start telling that the city, all this stuff has to come from the city budget. The city will not dole out, will not fix their rearrange their budget to pay out billions of dollars to people that quit their job because they was so-called mandated to take a vaccine. Now, I took the vaccine 2 times. I had to because to keep my job, but it was a risk. But I had to take care of my family because people like me, it's hard to find a job out there, and I'm not here to be a professional grifter. That just I mean, I'm not there to be like that. So I was in a position where I had to do it. Was it a risk of me passing away? Yeah, it was. Rest in peace to Minwoo Charles. Rest in peace to people that really took the vaccine and passed away. But I had to take that risk. I'm still here. The only thing that was bad for me was that I was hurting. My body was aching. But other than that, it was just it's hard to it was I had to take the vaccine. But I want to make this clear that the city has to every year, like I said, for every FY cycle, they have to cook up a budget to justify. They have to cook up a budget to sorry about that. They have to cook up a budget to let me go right here. I don't want to be just like excuse it. Okay, they have to cook up a budget to put for the budget for every year, and they're not going to like I said, rearrange that budget to satisfy people that quit their jobs. That's the truth. Madani, at least Zoran Madani, our mayor-elect, said it on the Finance I Filter podcast that he's not going to do it. He will not compensate these people. I think he will not block the rehiring of the guys, but recompensated is not going to happen. And the problem I can see is these unions, they're not telling their members this stuff. The city has to cook a budget, and they're not going to rearrange their budget to compensate people that quit their jobs. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not being a bad guy, but I'm telling you the truth. But the truth, I'm gonna tell you right now, the only way you can fix this is by next year in 2026 is that you guys have to find a way to endorse a person's run for governor that is going to compensate you guys, which is probably at least Stefanik or Bruce Blakely, because Kathy Hochul is not going to recompensate you guys. Mr. Antonio Delgado's not going to recompensate you guys, and to keep they're not going to recompensate you. The best thing I'm telling you right now is that. But yeah, it does. I would say, Alex, it does have to do everything with the budget. It's a lot to do with the budget. You have to make a budget to dole out the money you have to dole out to. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's the truth. But unless
Mr.
you guys
Johnson, just want to make sure you have a minute if you could finish up.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak. Like I said, I have a minute, so and I think I should tell you here. So unless you guys are ready to go start telling the city council to rearrange the budget to pay you guys back and stop paying all these parasitic nonprofits that always depend on this money, because they'll be the ones that will go to city council saying like, well, screw you guys and pay us before everybody else. And even if Trump decides to pay back the money, nothing's gonna change. So like I said, I'm here. Like I said, I love you guys, but the truth is the truth. I know you guys are upset, but the truth hurts. You guys are not getting recompensated. So the best way to do right now is look, accept their offer and just take the job, get your job back. You know what I mean? Because the expected money is like y'all dreaming. Keep on dreaming. Y'all not getting paid back in no time unless you get a Republican governor for 2027. But other than that, nothing's going to change. So like I said, these corrupt nonprofits in the way. I'm sorry. I'm not here to be a bad guy. I'm not here to be a bad guy. But I mean, I'm sorry to tell you that. It's just the fact. The truth hurts. And, you know, you guys got to live with that for the rest of your lives for now.
Sorry, Mr. Johnson. We don't need to live with that.
Yeah. But stop interrupting the conversation. But thank you, DCAS, for having this conversation and enjoy your day. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next person is Sandy Clafford. Are you there, Sandy Clafford?
And just a note, if you called in on a phone, it's *6 to unmute yourself. And if you're on Teams, there's a mic button that you press.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Is that Sandy?
Okay. I'm Lana Coleman, 41 South Mutton Avenue, East Orange, New Jersey. My telephone number is contact information 929-678-7500, and my email Georgia_Kawana@yahoo.com. I'm a 26.5 year teacher, was released from employment by the Department of Education. I'm sorry, is it me? Am I supposed to be speaking, or am I waiting?
I think is Sandy Clafford who's speaking?
I'm Sandy Clafford.
Oh, sorry. Who was speaking
Kawana
earlier? Kawana Coleman. Oh,
called me.
we had skipped you, Miss Coleman. But let me come back to you after who it was
Ms. Clafford.
or Miss Miss Clafford. Sorry, Miss. Go ahead, Miss Clafford.
I apologize. This is stenographer. I need that person to please speak up a lot. I cannot hear.
Me?
Okay. I think it was Kawana Coleman, but we're now gonna go back to Miss Sandy Clafford.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead, Miss
my
Clafford.
name is Sandy Clafford. I worked with HRA for the city. I worked with them for 8 years until I was terminated in 2020. During that time, I was denied due process regarding my reasonable accommodations without a reason, and they didn't forward me anything because I was on a leave without pay. The reasons or whatever was sent to my work email and not to my personal email, so I couldn't fight against it. So during that time, I depleted my pensions, my savings, and I was also denied unemployment. The city fought me for that also. And this was all, before I was put on leave of absence and then terminated. Working with the city, I was considered an essential worker. I comply with testing also. So during the time that I was laid off from the city, I just couldn't find a stable employment till just recently. And now I'm with the state. So right now, my pay is currently 24% decrease from what I was making and what I had built myself up to in those 8 years of service to the city. And I did read everything in what it is that you are suggesting or offering. I do want to, when you say back pay, I feel that we should be reinstated, but also compensated for or at least I should be compensated for the 3 years and or whatever level grade that is supposed to be. I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly, but I think it was said earlier. Our grade level, had we been at that employment, if you are not even going to consider giving back pay, I think that should be reconsidered. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you mention your former title at HRA earlier?
It was a principal administrative associate level 1.
Okay, thank you. So now let's go back to Kawana Coleman. Go ahead, Mr. Coleman.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. You have my background. In working October the 1st, my principal came into my office with a form to sign that I was not going to take the COVID shot. I was summarily told that I could not come in the building. I was a cheerleading coach, debate team coach, Special Olympics, because I'm a speech pathologist, and I helped the school, I covered class, I worked like a dog. If the basketball team needed anyone, I was there 100%. So with that happening, there was a glee that the people who had some level of power over the little teachers, and we were not able to have any of the due process. There was no information. There was not the ability, even with some of the mechanisms and technology, they shut down opportunities for people to put in accommodation information. The UFT did not support anyone. I would like to also request all of my UFT membership money back because they did not support me. They were in bed with this whole situation. I decided to retire, and I didn't get retirement until October of 2022. So I had no money from the check that they gave us in October that they requested back coming out of our car. The process for retirement wasn't even handled properly. So at this point, I have over 100 days sitting in the bank that I had no access to. So my hope was to be able to go in and to become reinstated and to have my time given back to me. That too should be a consideration. Spending money with doctor or whatever people had to do, I didn't because I never caught COVID. I'm never sick. As a matter of fact, I probably should get my benefits back. But anyway, this whole process, even on the 4th, the information came out from the mayor's office. There was the address there, NYC PSS Service, Return 2025, schools, whatever. It took me until yesterday to be able to send a request for me to be able to put my hat in the ring for reinstatement. I wrote one sentence saying I want to be considered for that, and that was all I had. But I called our HR. They had no information about what was going on. UFT had no information of what was going on. Payroll had no information of what was going on. There had been no communication with any of the people who would be impacted with the opportunity in a 30-day window to come into the system if they wanted to. So I have to agree that there has to be better outreach to the people who were harmed by them firing me. I was unable to get unemployment, and I didn't even know that when I was doing my unemployment, I could have backdated it to October the 4th. So I didn't know any better. So I went out February the 10th, the day before it was going to hit us. But the mayor was so chauvinistic and cavalier and arrogant. He said to the press that we did not get fired. We quit our job. I have never quit anything in my life. I've never been fired. So this has been totally devastating for me, coming from New Jersey every day on time and being a full-time caregiver for my mother who had dementia. So every day I was on time at 8 o'clock and never late. And for this to happen, I feel that what we're doing today is also very therapeutic to all of us who are still carrying the scars of what was done to us during that period of time. So it was 4 years of pain that really people are also expressing here today. So I thank you for listening to me, and I applaud you, Yolanda and Michael, for what you're doing here today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just mention before we go to the next person that we have about 15 more people to testify. That I appreciate if everybody stays within the time limit. so that we can go through everybody. And also just want to you know clarify as well again that this rule, we're trying to get feedback specific to this rule, which is for agencies that are within the jurisdiction of DCAS, and it's for change that applies to former competitive labor class employees who were terminated. So we want to obviously get feedback on this proposed rule that that we would yeah obviously get hear from you guys about that specific rule, but we welcome your testimony. All right, so the next person is Aura Moody.
Good afternoon. My name is Aura Moody.
Hold on a second. Sorry, there's a echo. I'm not sure if there's something you can do in your.
If folks are not speaking, please mute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but there's a very long echo, Miss Moody.
That's our circuit. That's not background noise. That's just the quality of the circuit.
Is that okay now?
Miss Moody, can we come back to you until we can figure out maybe the technical issues with your connection? But yeah, if we can, we'll come back to you, Miss Moody. And if you can, I don't know, James, if you can, somebody can reach out to her.
Just a second. We have somebody who's on their phone who's unmuted. I'm just going to mute them and see if that helps us. Just a second here. Okay, Miss Moody, see if that's any better.
Hi, good afternoon.
Nope.
Wait,
wait, Alma Guerrera is also see, I'm gonna have to mute you. I'm sorry because we may be getting feedback from you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. How are we now? No, we're still getting that echo. If you have audio on a speaker, please mute it.
I do know.
All right. I used to be a telephone technician. That's a whole.
Is that okay now?
She might be standing next to a speaker. She might have to remove herself from any nearby audio devices, Bluetooth, etc.
Yeah,
it's feedback.
Miss Moody, we'll come back to you. Let me go to Cheryl Jones. Cheryl, are you there?
Hi, yes. How are you?
Good. Go ahead.
First, I want to thank you guys for having this forum to give us a chance to speak. My name is Cheryl Jones. I am educator of New York City since 2006. I was one of the first responders when they called us in. That's when only 6 children could come at a time. We had to wear masks all day. And so during this process, we were noticing that the children weren't getting sick and we weren't getting sick, like spreading in the building. There were people who would get sick at home. But the one thing we realized is that nobody was dying in our building. And then the mandate came. So let me read this to you because this was important, I felt, and it made me feel like I was really a part of what we were going through in America, in New York, as well as America. So on June 25th, 2021, the UFT sent me a letter personalizing it. And it says, during the height of the pandemic, many of you stepped up and put their best foot forward, even though they were entering the unknown. UFT made it a priority to ensure the health and safety of every UFT member. We came across many obstacles and experienced a lot of change. My staff and I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge and honor one of our many heroes who really experienced additional stress and expectations during this pandemic. This was you, the elementary school in-person staff. You were asked to be on the front line of many beginnings in the journey to reopen our schools. Your courage and heroism were clearly displayed, and the UFT office cannot thank you enough for all that you have and will continue to do for this union, the New York Public School children and their families. Please accept this. And then they gave us a token. But I say that to say that was June 25th, 2021, and October 4th, I was terminated. I was put on leave without pay. So without pay, I was told that I could not contact the students, and the students could not contact me. They were worried. They were worried about me. I was worried about them. Not only that, I had bills to pay. My son had to help me pay my rent and do things like that. The same thing with unemployment. I never received it. I did apply for it, but I don't know, something happened. I have to look at my notes. But I also was docked my last paycheck because we didn't cover the last half of the month. Like, we got paid the 15th and the 30th. They let so that's where they stopped payment. We didn't quit, like the lady said. We had a choice to resign, but if we resigned, then we had no right to fight for our rights, which we are doing now. I think that it was a disservice not only to us, but to the children that we service that was going through what they were going through. And I never, ever got COVID. I was around people. I saw people pass away. As a matter of fact, when the people who got vaccinated came back into the building, that is when we noticed that the COVID rate was going back up. So me, following my constitutional right, my Fourth Amendment and my 14th Amendment right, I have a right, my unalienable right, to say if I think something is not safe, just because a government is telling me whether they know it's safe because they didn't know, that I must take it anyway. And now we see all of the deaths. We see all. I've been so stressed. This. I went back to school to become an educator, to service our children, especially in my neighborhood, because I see that we are needed.
Ms. Jones, sorry to interrupt, but you're out of time. Can you finish up?
So I just to close, I just want to say that I feel that we should be compensated for the stress and the unfairness that was given us. We never had due process, and again, I thank you for listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before I move to the next person or go back to Ms. Moody, they want to clarify that in order for under our personal rules for the reinstatement, to have a reinstatement process, we need for labor class and competitive class employees, we're proposing needs to be a change to our rule. So that's why there's a proposal for this rule, and as the mayor's press release says, that non-competitive employees and certain other employees are not affected by the current rules that DCAS has and could be reinstated without any change to our rules. So this rule is because there's a specific to competitive, and teachers are not in this category, or educators in the competitive or labor class. So the purpose of this was to allow reinstatement for these terminated competitive and labor class employees. Just before we move on, so Ms. Jones, you mentioned your former educator. Can you say what your former title was? Or
Yes, English, can you hear me?
Oh, you were a teacher?
Yes, I taught,
Oh, okay.
English in middle school and, elementary, grades 1 through 6,
Okay, thank you.
multi-subject.
Thank you. Miss Moody, are you there? Let's try you again now.
Yes, I am.
Oh, no, sorry. We still hear the.
Oh,
Well,
let me
James, are there other people you can mute? I don't know, because now I
let me
hear
log in
echo. So.
again.
There are a couple people. Let me take a try at it
Yeah,
here.
I am going to leave and then log in again.
Okay, let me move on to Heather Maloney. Are you there?
Hello,
Yeah, we can hear you.
thank you for this opportunity. I am confused about what you're saying about educators with the non-competitive. I didn't understand what that meant, but I wanted to give my story if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. But I'll just to mention it briefly that teachers and fall within. There are different jurisdictional classes, and teachers don't fall within this competitive labor class jurisdiction within DCAS. And many city employees are in the competitive or labor class, and teachers are outside of that class. They're considered pedagogical. And this proposed rule is for competitive and labor class employees. But go ahead, we'll hear your testimony.
I was teaching at IS 72 in Staten Island when this all occurred. I did not miss a single day of school. I drove from New Jersey to Staten Island every single day. I never asked for any accommodations. I immediately applied for a religious exemption when we were told that we had no choice. I was denied and told that I was a health hazard to the system, even though I had never missed a day. The entire pandemic, never got sick. I do have tremendous allergies at times. So yes, my allergies have been with me since birth. I then sent them an entire history from 0 to, I guess, about age 50, stating all the doctors, nurses, any weird things when I gave birth. I'm somebody who had children at the age of 38, 40, and 43, all by the grace of God. I didn't meet my husband until I was 36, turning 37. Everything in my life has been a wonderful blessing, including working since 1993. I was allowed in 2009 to go on a childcare leave and stay out for almost a decade, 9 years, 7 months. But then when it came to the pandemic, I was rejected. Another time I had applied in the 90s for a, what do you call it, when you go out for half a year sabbatical. And I was told then that it would be impossible to let me go because I was so important to the system. So they denied me that way back in the 90s. But here I was in 2021, never missed a day, and always went into work with a smile. I did wear a mask most of the time that said faith over fear. I was very encouraging to my students. As I mentioned, I graduated from 1993 Wagner College with a double major in elementary ed, a concentration in secondary ed, and French. So I had been a French teacher. And then in 2018, when I returned as an ATR, every week I had a check to see where I was going to be placed. And then I was asked that summer by the same principal that I worked for the whole year because she requested me not to be moved. If you're familiar with the ATR system, every single week they could bump you. They never did. With my French license, I was asked if HR would allow it. Would I take on a position as culture appreciation? So that was what I taught 2019 into 2020 when we were forced to go remote. Another part of my story is when I was
Can I come?
when I was
Oh, because it's not that many, we'll just switch it.
She got a whole new daycare.
Excuse me, if you
we're
are not
interrupting.
testifying, please mute yourself. Thank you.
when I was forced to be on a leave, I was interviewed by the news, and there were other families that were also being interviewed, parents that were from IS 72 who were pleading with the Department of Education to put me and other teachers like me on remote. They had 2 very sickly children, so they didn't want their children in the building. Meanwhile, the year before, we were forced to not go into the building, and here were parents pleading. I wanted to go in the building, but the Board of Ed wasn't allowing me to, so there was an option for us. So this is why the person who mentioned arbitrary and capricious, it doesn't make sense. Why was I forced to stay working when I wanted to go on a sabbatical? Why was it that I was told I was a health hazard when I never missed a day? No one around me that I ever was informed ever got sick. As the person stated earlier, there were colleagues who stayed home. They had the accommodation to work in New Jersey from home, and they would get COVID, and then they would get paid to not even show up remotely, and they got full salary, full benefits, and here I am willing to go in to be there to serve our students, and they would not allow me to do so. So again, I just hope that somebody could bring back common sense and sanity to the situation. There are so many people who are continuing to suffer. It breaks my heart to hear that these people have lost their homes. Somebody was out in the street, living on the street. These are highly educated people that literally we went from being hero to zero, treated like trash. And we are human beings who really love. I am so passionate. Since 3 years old, I wanted to be a teacher. And I would love if New York City would allow me to come back and teach. And honestly, it doesn't matter where you wanted to put me, as long as it's back in Staten Island, elementary school, middle school, or high school. I loved it, and I'm sure many people on here feel the same way, that we've been gypped. One of my students wrote a letter to the mayor pleading with him that what he was doing was making the biggest mistake, that I was her best teacher she'd probably ever had. I couldn't believe that she felt so passionate. She was calling 311. Another of my male students, he was doing the same thing, pleading not to let us go. And the last thing I want to mention is I was offered to put up a fake vaccine card. I was offered to receive a real vaccine card, and somebody would shoot it in the sink or the garbage pail. So how many people are still working that did something like that? My morals wouldn't allow me to. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. God bless you all.
Thank you. Just want to make clear too, based on the comments, that as the mayor's press release says, that DOE staff can apply for reinstatement by contacting the email, and that process doesn't require a change in the rule that's applicable to non-competitives and to competitives and labor class. So that's just I hope that clarifies some of the comments. All right, so the next
Me.
person is Emily. Oh,
What about me?
Miss Moody again?
Yes.
Oh, I think now you don't have an echo, so go ahead.
Thank you. Hi.
Oh, and sorry, before Miss Maloney, can you tell what was your title again?
Oh, I'm mute. I'm sorry. I was New York City teacher.
Okay.
All right. In Staten Island, I was appointed, and I've been tenured since the early 90s, but because I had that almost decade off, I was in my 19th year of teaching, and I did want to put the full 30 in.
Just wanted to put your title. All right, Ms. Moody, go ahead. Sorry. Any if you can specify your former title.
Good afternoon. My name is Aura Moody. I am a bilingual school social worker. I consider myself an active employee because I had not been served with a final notice only without pay, a termination notice, or a charge. I would like to speak about the constitutionality of the UFT award that mandated vaccines for DOE employees and contractors without pretending to be an attorney, and will also talk about the specificities of my case. I began working for the Department of Education in 1999, but before I worked for the city for other agencies. On September 10, 2021, arbitrator Martin Scheinman, who, by the way, fundraised for Bill de Blasio when he was running as mayor, issued an EFT award that mandated vaccines for DOE employees only and discriminated against us because other branches of the city government were not mandated to have the vaccine. They were given the choice to vax or test. I will speak about the constitutionality of the mandate later on. I applied for a medical exemption under the grounds of natural immunity. I was denied without a hearing. I appealed the decision. I was denied by the DOE at the HRA Connect level instead of the panels of arbitrators appointed by SAM. I also applied for a religious exemption and an accommodation to work remotely, and they were never processed. I believe that the city could have accommodated me because my position as a social worker did not require face-to-face contact with the student and the parents. I worked the year before in person, although I could have stayed home. I went to the school building, but I worked remotely. And voluntarily, I submitted my weekly vaccine test showing that I was not a health risk. My request was denied. I reached out to the chancellor because I did not get any response from the DOE at least 3 times, and she never responded to me. I was placed on October 4, 2021. I was unlawfully placed on leave without pay while I was awaiting a decision on my application for a medical exemption, although the UFT award says that while an appeal was pending, the employee was to remain on leave without pay because it was assumed to be granted. On October 15, the DOE blocked my email account. I called IT, I notified the DOE and UFT, they never restored it. So I did not get the final notice on leave without pay that was allegedly sent to the employee through the email on November 30, 2022. I wrote an email to the chancellor letting her know that I had not been served, and I never got a response. On November 29, I filed a step 1 grievance with the UFT for improper placement on leave without pay. The UFT denied to proceed with my grievance to step 2. On November 29, I also requested that the UFT file a special grievance with SAMS, the arbitrator, pursuant to the provision of the UFT award on page 13 that says that if there was problem implementing the UFT award, that they could bring a claim directly to SAMS or to the DOE, but the UFT failed to proceed. I also joined a group grievance in December of 2021 because there were thousands of employees having problems and the DOE didn't do anything. The solar system that was supposed to be used to submit the request for medical and religious exemptions was defective because it didn't have any appeal and option under the drop-down menu. So I became very creative and I wrote a letter and I submitted my letter and the new application, but it clearly stated that it was an appeal and they never got back to me. On February 9, I learned that the DOE was going to terminate me through the UFT, so I requested a 328 due process hearing. The DOE never processed it, and according to the Taylor law, they were supposed to process the due process hearing within 60 days, and as of today, I have not even been acknowledged.
Apologies,
On February
Ms.
11, I was allegedly terminated.
Apologies, I know we took a while to get you back, but if you could finish up,
Okay.
because we have other people.
I would like to highlight that all city employees must be reinstated because the UFT award was illegal. It was created under a health order dated August 24, 2021 that was deemed unconstitutional by the Court of Appeals of the Second Circuit on November 14 of 2021. When the city realized that that health order was illegal, on September 15 of 2021, Health Commissioner Chosky revoked that order. The UFT award was issued on September 10, 5 days after he revoked the order, and the UFT award was never amended to reflect those changes. The UFT award was for the school year 2021-2022 only, as per page 7 of the UFT award. The arbitrator said this process shall be in place for the 2021-2022 school year and shall be only extended by mutual agreement of the parties. It was never extended. On June 30, 2022, I asked the UFT to file a grievance because we were supposed to be reinstated effective July 1st of 2022. The DOE and the UFT did not proceed. So all city workers must be reinstated immediately because the UFT award was illegal. It was created under an illegal health order that was revoked, and deemed unconstitutional by the Court of Appeal for the Second Circuit. Furthermore, the UFT award was discriminatory because it excluded some religions from participating as per page 9 of the UFT award, and other religions were not to apply. The process to apply and to appeal the decision was a sham. They only gave us 10 days to get all the paperwork and submit the applications. So all employees should be reinstated immediately with back pay. The UFT award is illegal. It was unconstitutional and it cannot be enforced. It was for 1 school year only. One
Okay,
school
Miss,
year only.
I'm sorry to stop you,
Okay,
Miss Mora.
so
Let me move on to
all
the,
city employees must be reinstated because it is illegal and enforceable. Furthermore, all employees submitted from the DOE the 328 hearing, and they have not responded to us. They violated the Taylor law because the UFT and the other unions with the city, they kind of back deal, and they violated the Taylor law on employment that is not allowed by the Taylor law. The arbitrator
okay,
who
Miss Moore,
mandated the vaccine
Miss
mandate
Moody,
has
apologies. I
no
have to.
authority. He had no authority.
Miss Moody, I apologize, but if you have additional, you can submit a written statement. But I'm gonna move on to the next person. Miss, and I know you've been muted. Apologies for that, but we have to move on. You can submit a written statement at the email that we provide. All right, Miss. The next person is Miss Emily Sapantes. Are you there, Miss Sapantes?
You call my name, but you never call me. You never give me the opportunity to talk.
Well, now you do. Oh, Alma Guerrero. That's your Alma.
Yes.
I are you on the list?
I should be.
I don't know. I don't see you on the list.
But I raise my hands and I would love to, you give me the opportunity to talk.
All right. Go ahead, Miss Guerrero.
So my name is Alma Guerrero. I work for the NYPD School Safety Division for 14 years. I was working the entire time during the
What was your
COVID.
title?
School safety.
Okay.
So, like everybody else, we do in a few days we have to submit our religion exception. And actually, they put me in a one police plaza to work on administration work. Meanwhile, I was waiting for my my for my reasonable accommodation. But this never worked. I was waiting, and unfortunately, they say no. Also, the union never helped. So it was very traumatic event for not only for me, for entire city workers. I'm glad everybody's here to have a voice, and I'm thank you, Mr. Adams and Dicas, to hear us our concerns. I would like to you guys put in consideration our what we all go through. We My family was fall apart, you know. Besides money matter, we was like everybody else. We were able to apply for any help during the city because it was like a punish. Uh, Apply for benefits or for unemployment. It was not even a consideration because we don't have the COVID. So I would like, I would love, and I would like, and I pray all this time for the city and to consider all of us to reinstate to our jobs and to give us our back pay and our time, our patient. It's important for us. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Guerrero.
Thank you, sir.
Let me see. Can I go back to I'll go back to Emily Sapantes. Are you there, Ms. Sapantes? Okay, if you're not there, Mr. Emin Wallace. Are you there, Mr. Wallace?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear
You
you.
hear me?
Yeah.
Hello. My name is Edmund David Wallace II. I was a steam fitter at Department of Correction. I would like to start with all glory to God and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen, amen, amen. I also want to give praise to my great uncle, Matthew Fisher, who during World War II gave the ultimate sacrifice and is buried in Florence, Italy. Great uncle Matthew Fisher, your sacrifice is being fulfilled right now by giving me the opportunity to speak. Myself speaking now is exercising my First Amendment right. The same First Amendment right that New York City denied my religious exemption twice, whereas many others were given that religious exemption within the Department of Correction and continue to work to this day. Apparently, my faith is not worthy, whereas many others' faith is superior, and they continue working during the last 47 months currently, and my life has been put in a holding phase. During the months of October, November 2021, I was masking and testing and meeting the requirements of a reasonable accommodation by swabbing my nostrils with a foreign object riddled with ethylene oxide, which is most likely a violation of the Nuremberg Code. During the months of October 2021, I submitted my first religious exemption. It was denied. Then I submitted my appeal religious exemption in the month of November 2021. That appeal religious exemption was denied while meeting the reasonable accommodation of masking and testing during that time. Many other employees were given the reasonable accommodation of masking and testing and having their religious exemption fulfilled within the Department of Correction. Again, my faith was found to not be worthy. I was never served any paperwork nor ever notified that I would be fired. Therefore, I continued working on January 3rd, 4th, and 5th of 2022. During that time, I also worked 22 hours of overtime and still haven't been paid for my sweat equity. That is a form of human trafficking and slavery. Then on January 6, 2022, the clock refused my punch-in password. My faith being denied is a direct violation of New York City human rights law and state human rights law. In the great words of President Ronald Reagan, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. With all due respect, President Ronald Reagan, I would like to add to that quote, I'm from the union and I'm here to help. I don't bend the knee to any pharmaceutical products nor any tyrants. I bend my knees to Almighty God and my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. In conclusion, it is my immediate demand and wish and order that you reinstate and compensate all individuals similarly situated who were affected under this complete insanity with reinstatement to previous positions, back pay, and full seniority. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. The next person is Garfield Martin. If you can, when I call in, if you can indicate your former title, if you were employed for this by the city.
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, all. As my other colleagues would say, glory to God. Okay. My name is Garfield Martin, certified IT admin, level 2 with New York City Board of Education in the network operations space. I started off my career with New York City Environmental Protection as a co-op tech. My last title again was certified IT admin, and I was married for married on 20th February 2020. That summer, I worked remote with DIIT, Division of Instruction and Information Technology. I was dispatched to schools without PPE, without proper PPE, right, which would, in my opinion and my belief, constitute a violation of local and federal laws. After which I submitted a religious exemption, which was denied. Right, during my tenure with the city, I was never have ever been disciplined for any reason. Right? Not an infraction, not a write-up. I've never been disciplined for any reason, much less as I.
I'm not sure if we lost you, Mr. Garfield, or Mr. Moran.
Yeah, I don't see him here in the list, so I don't know if we lost a connection with him.
We might come back to him. Let's go back to, let's go next to Carter, Anna Carter.
Hi, yes,
Are
my
you
name's
there?
Anna. I'm not sure that, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, I'm not sure that these comments mean anything because we're finding out in the chat that DOE teachers are not included in this situation when we were told they were, at least in the announcements we saw. But my husband was a 21-year teacher in the DOE, exemplary performance. All the reviews were fantastic. At the same time, I worked for a hospital on Staten Island for over 11 years and had a religious exemption. I was fired after 11 years. My husband was fired from his job. None of our kids are vaccinated. None of them have ever been vaccinated. This is a very sincere religious belief. Our lives were ripped from us, and they still are. I am now working 3 jobs to try and keep our family afloat. We're in the hole. We've had major catastrophes hit us, floods, trees on our house, damaged property because of natural disasters on top of what the city's already done to us. My husband has since applied repeatedly to multiple jobs within the DOE and has been told no multiple times. So I realize this doesn't apply to DOE teachers, but in some sense, this needs to apply to DOE teachers because what they did to all these other people, they did to the teachers as well. We've been told he's too expensive. They can't afford him. He went back to the old school that he used to work at, and they didn't hire him back. So this is just one more, yes, I realize at this point it's just story time, but one more situation where the city needs to know that they have destroyed humans. They have destroyed our lives. They have destroyed our will. They have broken us, and they need to repay us. Thank you.
Thank you. As I think I will mention that teachers can apply for reinstatement as stated in the press release. It was just that this personal rule is specific to certain categories of employees. I know I've mentioned this before, so and last time I'll mention it. All right, the next person is Suzanne Schroeder. Suzanne Schroeder.
Sorry, hello.
Go ahead.
Hi, yes, Suzanne Schroeder. I'm trying to turn my camera on. Okay. So I want to just thank you for listening to us today, Mr. Whitman and Mr. Reyes and the rest of your staff. And I want to thank those who spoke before me, especially Joe St. George, and all that are in attendance. So I was a speech pathologist for the New York City Department of Education for 16 years. So I was tested every 2 weeks before the vaccine mandate was implemented. And in 2021, I actually got COVID. So I was given a medical exemption for 3 months. And after that time, when that time was up, believe it or not, I did get COVID again, which was ridiculous, but I applied again. And at that time, my doctor's notes, as well as any testimony from me, was not only denied, but there was no hearing, there was no arbitration. I got a letter that said I was denied, and that was it. You were not to argue about it. I didn't know who to call. So I also spent countless hours on the phone and emailing, just trying to find out what I can do to either get an exemption. And then I realized when I was doing research that this did go against my fundamental religious beliefs, and just fundamental beliefs as a human being. So I applied for my religious exemption at that point. That was also denied with no hearing, no arbitration. Sorry, I have some notes and I just want to make sure I follow them. I was told at the time, I just want to say that I set up a caseload for the 21 school year. And then by October 4th, I had to leave. So I saw my students for 2 to 3 weeks, whatever that timeline was. And then I was told I needed to leave and not come back in the building because I was unvaccinated. So I had received a letter then from my principal stating that I hadn't come to work in 10 days. And since I hadn't reported for duty, that I should resign or I was going to be terminated. And so that was the only real communication that was sent to me, besides later communication that said if I wanted to keep my benefits, I had to sign a paper that said I could keep my benefits. So I just want to say that I was not treated as an individual. My fundamental beliefs and even opinions of my doctors that have degrees as well. I have a master's degree in communication disorders. Any of these things meant absolutely nothing to the Department of Education. And I just hope this brings some attention to the disrespect and biased manner in which we were treated as New York City employees. Thank you very much. Oh, one other thing I did want to add, I'm sorry, is that what else was not taken into consideration was the harm it was going to do to their employees, such as me and my family and all these other people, and also to the children that I started my caseload with, some of which who had severe special needs, who need continuity, and those teachers and therapists were basically ripped away from them. So that's what I wanted to say. So thank you for listening. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. The next person is BC Perparin.
Yes. Hi. Can you hear
Go
me?
ahead. Yeah. Then we lost you after you said.
My name is Margaret Mead. I probably served 16 years as a firefighter with the FDNY with a spot. You hear me then? Got me?
Start again. Yeah, go ahead. I don't know.
This is the stenographer. It was coming in very choppy.
Yeah, I think we lost you, Mr. Perperin. Yeah. I think we'll try you again. But so we don't have a good connection. Huh?
I've been listening for 2 hours. I haven't had an issue. You hear me now?
Okay, I think we have him back now.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Yes. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me start again. My name is Perparin Biti. I proudly served 16 years as a firefighter with the FDNY with a spotless record. I'm a first-generation American born to Albanian immigrant parents, and serving this city and this country has been one of the greatest honors of my life. As the union president said today, many firefighters were forced to vest out because of the vaccine mandate. I am one of them. It changed the entire course of my life and my family's life. I should have finished my 20 years and retired the way I earned through years of service and sacrifice. I'm asking the firefighters in my situation who were pushed out by the mandate, not misconduct, be fully included in the reinstatement and review process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Purple. All right, the next person we have Oren Barzilay, the EMS union president. Are you there, Mr. Barzilay?
Hi, this is Jacqueline. Oren Barsley told me to ask you guys to pass on him if you do call on him.
Okay.
Okay. You can submit testimony to the record as well if he emails it to me.
Understood. I'll let him know. Thank you.
Good, thanks.
Okay, so the next person is Susan Corso.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, my name is Susan Corso Ivashenko. I was working for the Department of Education for 24 years when I was fired on October 4th for not being vaccinated. I never got due process. And as I agree with everybody, I feel that, and I lost everything. I lost my savings, everything. I feel that we should all be monetarily compensated. We should get our tenure back. We should get our benefits back. I just want what's duly, what's fair for all our pain and suffering. I just think it's fair. We were unlawfully fired and terminated, and our lives were changed forever. And I just want what's fairly and rightfully due. That's all.
What was your title, Ms. Corso?
I was a instructional coordinator for the Division of Early Childhood when I was fired. But before that, I was a teacher.
Okay, thank you.
It's called the Teacher Sunday. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next person is Christine Gross.
May I finish my?
Oh, this is Mr. Martin.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Martin.
Thank you very much. Omar, I won't be long. Thank you for letting me jump in. I just wanted to finish off saying, right, that in the summer of 2020, I was married with the IIT, was dispatched to several locations without proper PPE, working remote, 3-day, 2-day off. Never been disciplined my entire career. That's the stigma, and I feel like we've been blackballed from other city agencies, not just the home agency, like agencies that we invested our time, energy, resources into. We were just discarded if we weren't needed. I heard this statement earlier, from hero to zero, several times. That's an accurate account of restoration is necessary, both financial and career-wise. You essentially played with the lives of civil servant workers, and on no day, any way, shape, or form should that occur. The way that it was done was tasteful. Restoration should be on the table. We lost our right to choose, our right to earn, and now we're at the table essentially begging for scraps. That shouldn't be the process. You should be given the employment back, right, with back pay. And that's all. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Jeanette Fraser. Are you there, Mr. Fraser?
I think
Hello?
Okay.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, go
Hello,
ahead.
everyone. I would just like to address the reinstatement policy based on agencies' power and their professionalism and biasness and retaliatory behavior when it comes to reinstating employees. the process that a lot of these agencies engaged in, I believe, was unlawful within employees that were within the agency that were given a little power and a little authority to do a lot of retaliatory behaviors and biasness based on who exemptions and medical exemptions were and were not approved. There were employees who were on and open competitive civil service lists that lost the opportunity to be reinstated, to be pulled off these lists because they were terminated, unlawfully terminated. And a lot of these agencies didn't even follow the procedure that was given to them from the mayor's office based on how to approve religious exemptions. My thing is, what authority is DCAS given and monitoring that they are doing with a lot of these agencies, personnel that are biased and engage in retaliatory behavior?
Well, we're not going to be answering those specific questions, but we'll take your testimony. Do you have anything addition to that?
Well, I believe that whether you're a UFT employee or if you are an employee that is under the mayoral agency, you should be compensated and you should be reinstated and made whole, just like everybody else who still has their job.
All right. Thank you. Let me go back to Christine Gross. Sorry, I skipped you. Go ahead.
Hi. I just want to say thank you for listening. I know teachers are not part of this today, but I want to say that I was a social studies teacher for 21 years, 9 years away from retirement, finally making a decent salary. Cut to April of 2023 when I started menopause and my sleep was disrupted, like severely disrupted, like my life was over. So I tried to get HRT. And I'm told by my doctor at Health and Hospitals, because now I have Medicaid, that I can't get HRT because of a genetic blood clotting factor, the very factor that I applied for a medical exemption for. Right. So I can't get my life back and my sleep back because of this blood clotting factor, but I should take a vaccine that we now know causes blood clots. And I've seen blood clots in many people I know. So had I decided to take the vaccine, I would probably be dead. I'm losing, my best years of going into Social Security, and not to mention the fact that I'm only still surviving because of my father and food stamps. But anyhow, I know countless people in private business who were exempted. Mammographers at Lenox Hill were exempt because they didn't want to have new people touching all the private parts of the ladies, and they're closely, obviously mammographers are closer to people's faces than I ever get with students. Countless were exempt, former students who worked in private business, not to mention the celebrities and sports people who were exempt. And, just to speak to the gentleman who said we were never going to get back pay, I know that if we bothered to tax Wall Street trades just a penny, we would have plenty of money to pay for that. I would just like to say that this never should have happened. So many of our rights were violated. And that we should be made whole with back pay, and I shouldn't have to go begging back to the DOE to get my job back. And I also do want to say that if you were paying attention in August 2021, on the state's website, they had percentages of people vaccinated by zip code. And I unfortunately only looked at Manhattan at the time, but anything above 110th Street was under 50%, right? 40 to 30% in some areas of Harlem. Right. So, I don't want to make judgments. To me, this whole policy was to get people who did not want to take the vaccine, a lot of Blacks and Latinos. And I know that from my personal experience and friends. And I saw it in my school in September of 2021, when day by day, more people were going, oh, I got vaccinated because I couldn't lose my job. Right. So to me, this was a racist policy to begin with, for a vaccine that was not properly tested. And we don't even know what all the results are. So I would just like to say that we should be made whole, and we shouldn't have to beg for our jobs back. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. The next person is Ariana Johnson.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ariana Jackson, and I am a former PAA, Police Administrative Aide of the NYPD, whose religious and medical exemptions were denied. My time of employment was from March 2018 to May 2022, and throughout those years, I had many roles. My journey began in the
I'm not
124
getting
room.
into all of that. I'm not.
I'm sorry.
Please
No?
don't interrupt.
Okay, no problem. My journey began in the 124 room, working with the general public, moving up to roll call, where I worked directly with my admin lieutenant and dealt with my cops directly and patrol Borough Bronx. And lastly, I moved up to the role of payroll in Rodman's Neck. While many people have certain views on the police department as a whole, I actually love my job, and I'm truly sorry to see how the city has fallen apart due to these shortages. For the past 3+ years, I have been through the most challenging times of my life, beginning with struggling to find and keep employment, not because of my skills or the fact that I have 2 degrees, but because there are many agencies still to this day requesting proof of something that has been considered ineffective. And I also became badly injured on my last job. I have taken on the responsibility of becoming what we would consider the breadwinner of my home, where I have family members who are ill and I'm responsible for. My beautiful credit has been destroyed, cards have been closed, credit lines rejected, and literally everything I have had. I'm sorry. God, I just lost. I'm so sorry. Literally. Oh my. I'm so sorry. I just lost my train of thought. Okay, yes, sorry. I have, my beautiful credit has been destroyed, cards have been closed, credit lines rejected, and literally everything I have had has been stripped away. I have always been responsible, and to hit rock bottom for something that was completely out of, your control and not due to your behavior or lack of worth ethic is truly unjust. And I pray that the city can do the right thing for those of us who worked every day, while the majority of others stay home. Okay. That's
Please
okay.
mute yourself.
Yo estoy aquí afuera del gate, so no hay problema, nadie entra.
Alma, I'm so sorry. Your thing. Oh, okay. 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 So I've always been responsible and to hit rock bottom for something that was completely out of your control and not due to your behavior or lack of work ethic is truly unjust. And I pray that the city can do the right thing for those of us who worked while the majority of others stayed home while the world was falling apart in 2020. There are 2 things that I would like to inquire should we return or I return. As requested by the department, I took weekly tests and uploaded negative results to our online system. So what will be in place for the future in the time that this remaining administration has and the next administration to ensure that we're not terminated again? Second, I would also like to know how our time loss will be addressed. And lastly, on April 8th, 2022, prior to me being notified that I would be terminated, I took a promotional exam for SPAA, which is Senior Police Administrative Aide, and I've passed and my list number is still effective. So I would like to know how the city will be handling promotions and need to ensure that anyone in the same predicament as myself will have their promotions honored no matter the circumstance. I just want to say, may God bless this city, and I look forward to a positive outcome for all of those who choose to serve what was considered to be the best city in the world. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank
The next
you.
person is Christina Whitehead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Christina Whitehead. I was an NYPD officer for 8 years. I would like to start off by saying all glory, praise, and honor be to the Lord Jesus Christ. I respectfully and humbly submit this testimony in support of the proposed personnel order. I served as a uniformed member of the New York City Police Department for 8 years and was among those terminated for non-compliance with the COVID-19 vaccination mandate. I am deeply grateful to the city for considering this rule, as it represents a meaningful opportunity for fairness, restoration, and reconciliation for many who dedicated their services to New York. Reinstatement is not only about returning to work, but about restoring dignity, experience, and trust between the city and those who gave years of loyal service. Thousands of dedicated employees lost their positions not because of wrongdoing or poor performance, but because they stood by personal convictions and beliefs. during an uncertain and divisive time. Many of us sacrificed our livelihoods out of consciousness, yet we still love this city and remain willing to serve. To allow reinstatement is to acknowledge that these individuals who already proved their courage and commitment still have valuable experience, training, and heart to give back to New York. Reinstating these workers would help rebuild the workforce with people who have already demonstrated resilience, faith, loyalty, pressure, qualities that make for stronger, more compassionate public servants. Before my separation, I had successfully passed the New York Police Department Sergeant's exam and was awaiting advancement. I had worked diligently throughout my career to reach that point and was proud to have earned that right to move forward in leadership. My termination interrupted that progress and prevented me from pursuing the promotion I have rightfully achieved through hard work and commitment. I respectfully request that upon reinstatement, that eligibility for promotion be restored as well, and that we be given a fair opportunity to advance to the rank that we were pursuing. I also kindly request that the city consider reinstating the time of service that was lost due to our termination, along with corresponding back pay and pension credit. This would ensure that our record accurately reflects the years of faithful service we have completed and employment continued uninterrupted. It is important to note that I submitted a reasonable accommodation request for a religious exemption to the vaccine mandate based on sincere and deeply held beliefs that I have in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. My request was denied, even though other employees and family members, police officers as well, who are my family members with the same convictions, were granted approval, but I was denied. I share this to highlight the need for consistency, equality, and compassion in the reinstatement process. During my time with NYPD, I served honorably, carrying out my duties with professionalism, integrity, and dedication to the people of New York City. My termination did not result from any misconduct or performance issue, but from a personal conviction made in good faith. I have remained ready and willing to service and continue contributing to the safety and well-being of our city. I commend the city for acknowledging the pandemic created extraordinary circumstances and for taking the steps towards fairness and reconciliation through this proposed rule. I ask that the implementation process be clear, timely, ensuring the reinstated employees are treated with respect, dignity, and fairness regarding benefits, seniority, and promotional opportunities. In closing, I express sincere gratitude for your attention and consideration. I stand committed to serving again with the same honor, discipline, and dedication that I upheld throughout my 8 years as a police officer. And that's all I have to say. God bless you guys.
Thank you.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just seeing in the chat, Mr. Barzilay wishes to speak. I think if he has an interest to speak, we can let him speak. And then afterwards, we have Tamika Anderson.
Are you there, Mr. Barzilay?
I am. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Orrin Barzilay. I am the president of FDNY EMS, representing over 4,000 EMTs, paramedics, and inspectors. The vaccination, as we all now know, was the biggest hoax in our nation, if not the world. Our men and women went out there courageously and honorably saving New Yorkers. Every night at 7 p.m., while the sirens were wailing, we received pots banging throughout the entire city. Many of our men sacrificed everything. They've lost their homes, their families, caused divorces, and some even suicide. I think it's only right that we support this legislation or bill, and I hope that this will be moved quickly and efficiently to restore these hardworking men and women. We were the only ones out there while the streets were empty, responding to everybody's needs. I hope that, again, this will be resolved amicably. Thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you. The next person is Tamika Anderson. Are you there, Miss Anderson?
She's just in the chat. Let me just see. If you're calling in by phone, it's *6 to unmute yourself. If you're using Teams, it's the microphone button.
Hi, hello.
There we go.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hi. Thank you all so much. I do appreciate this. So my name is Tamika Anderson, and I have worked for 14 years with the fire department EMS. Unfortunately, when I got to my 15th year is when I received my termination letter, because I didn't get vaccinated. And I wanted to just ask, I guess you can say the panel or whoever's in charge of this bill or this proposal. I just want to say that offering our jobs back is not making us whole again. Right? It just is allowing us to come back to work when we've lost so much. Secondly, allowing these agencies to be selective as to who comes back leaves us open for further discrimination. And 30 days is not nearly enough time to write a letter or to get the word out to other people who were terminated. We need more time. I would like to see this proposal be amended at least 5 years. Third, I would also like to see promotions be added, because if you were terminated, then that means you were locked out of promotion. So I could have been a fire department EMS lieutenant by now. I think we should look at that as well. And that's about it. I would just like to see the proposal be amended, because if these agencies were wrong and if it was unlawful, how about we go to full course? How if it's unlawful, then that means they don't get a say as to who comes back. If you were terminated, then you get your job back because you were terminated. We were not terminated for I don't know, absentee. We wasn't terminated because we were absent or we weren't performing well. We were terminated because we said no and or locked out of filing a religious an accommodation. So I just wanted to see the proposal be amended. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we've gone through the list, but I think there are still some people that still want to speak that didn't. I'm not sure if you put your name on the chat, but if
So
those people.
There's somebody on the tag of QCCS Communications Officer. They've mentioned that they would like to speak. I don't know if they can unmute themselves right now.
FC, I see you have your hand raised.
Hi, good afternoon. The title that I have under my profile is QCCS. I put my name in the chat. It's Joy Newball.
Oh, okay.
I only need a couple minutes of the time.
And sorry, can you say your title again?
I was a former New York City Department of Education paraprofessional. I worked for 8 years prior to termination. I know a lot of this applies more so to the standard of what DCAS employees are, whether competitive or labor classes, which I went in and did some research as to exactly what those jobs entail. But I just have a few questions in regards to this resolution. And I can leave my email so that the full resolution in whole could be sent to me, if a copy could be sent to me, so that I can review it and comprehend it in regards to those who are represented by people like me, who have voices, who speak up and look for solutions and resolve and remedy. I was reading the title of the resolution and its reinstatement of employees dismissed for non-compliance with the COVID-19 vaccination mandates. And, given everything that has happened to us, now I was terminated September 9th, 2021. I was one of the first rounds of people who were terminated before the mass terminations happened and the mass resignations happened. And, the great resignation in New York City, I was one of the first terminated because I made a decision not to be recertified, because I was getting on top of recertification emails. Paraprofessionals have to recertify themselves every 3 years to certain levels with the state. I was a level 2 needing to be certified for level 3. At the same time, I was getting emails about a recertification to a level 3 paraprofessional. I was also receiving emails about submitting a vaccination proof. And so because of my beliefs and my morals and what I know now that I didn't know then, was I was not getting the shot for many reasons. Didn't matter if it was religious, didn't matter if it was medical, though those two held weight. It was more so if it was lawful or unlawful. And the vaccination mandate, which under Black's Law's dictionary, a mandate is an oral agreement, voluntary, with an agency and with someone. No employee with the New York City, the city of New York, no employee, whether it was fire department, police department, labor class, competitive class, no matter what is classified under Department of City Administration, no one gave a voluntary agreement. No one gave consent to vaccination requirements as per agreement for employment. In Black's Law Dictionary, you could look it up. It's available. 4th edition is available online. You could just pull it up. Also, in regards to my situation with being terminated, I had to make a decision. So my termination, even though I don't want reinstatement, but I want those who feel strongly that they need to be remedied to get that remedy back. If this is a step forward, then we need to see exactly what the definitions are as to what you're putting forward in this resolution, because the resolution, as per Black's Laws Dictionary, is to resolve a matter. It's to resolve something. And as far as compliance is when you go along with what you're told to do. So if this is for non-compliance, which it shouldn't even be classified that we were non-compliant. We have a choice and a decision, and we didn't give our consent. So it should be non-consensual, which is what happened to us. We did not agree to this. It was against our consent. So it's non-consensual. So if any other situation that is non-consensual is deemed criminal, this should also be deemed criminal. And the title of your resolution should probably go back for some edits and some amendments, because this is not about non-compliance. This is about the rights, the unalienable and the lawful rights of the men and women of New York City that were violated due to the fact that the city did not uphold whether a man or a woman working in any of these agencies gave consent. If someone did not give consent, they should not be reprimanded for it. So a lot of city workers, like I said, myself, I'm not looking for reinstatement. My life has already been damaged and I'm moving forward. I was unemployed for almost 3 years, eventually got a full-time job, left that job because of the strain that was on me and my body and everything that happened with the stress of being fired from a career that I didn't even want in the beginning. I was pushed into that career and found love into that career, worked in that career for maybe about 2 months, not paid because a payroll secretary wasn't able to come to work. And I worked as a paraprofessional, unpaid for 6 weeks, almost 8 weeks, still did the job. So to know that all those things, it was as if nothing happened. I'm already resolved. I have to move on. I have to give my life to Christ and just move on and pass the healing on for the Holy Spirit to do something for me. And I know a lot of people are saying this. But in regards to the resolution, we need clear-cut understanding and definition of exactly what it is that you're proposing. What does reinstatement mean? What does noncompliance mean? What are we really doing? Who does this involve? And just like what Jeanette said, and I wholeheartedly agree, but I wanted to keep the comment section and respect the rules of the comment section. What she said was 1,000% correct. There is no authority. So you have to explain to us, you as DCAS, and I have much respect for you, you as DCAS, what authority do you have to even pass this resolution, to even seek some kind of compensation or remedy for these people who have already been damaged? The damage is done. Reinstatement isn't enough. And even back pay, and I'm just gonna speak wholeheartedly and honest, back pay won't even fix it either, because the trauma has already happened. This is just a step forward. Being recognized that a harm was done, having a public statement said by the mayor's office, by DCAS, by any other agency who failed to uphold the rights of the people, because these agencies work for us. You are our employees. And we chose to do a barter system with you by giving our time and having some wages from it. When is there going to be a public apology? When is there going to be a statement issue saying that what happened was wrong and we take full accountability and responsibility? And if in fact that does not happen, then remedy will be sought on the outside. Remedy will be sought, and every single individual who sat on the side and didn't say anything about what was wrong, about what was going on, will be added to that list of those who are going to be held accountable, because the city of New York, the mayor's office, is responsible for you guys, is responsible for the DOE, the Department of Health, all the commissioners, NYPD, FDNY, DEP, every single agency that operates and moves this city is under the mayor's office. And if you don't do the right thing, I'm going to finish up. I will. If you don't do the right thing, trust and believe, remedy will be sought and remedy will happen. We've taken public servants to court before. We could take city agencies to court too. So with that, I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Just before we close, just want to announce if there was anybody else that wishes to speak that hasn't spoken. I think I know FC Miss your Miss your FC Miss Newbold. Your hand is still raised, I know, but there is a T. I'm not sure who that is.
That's for Troy. That's
that?
me. Troy Sutton. I don't know if I put my full name in there.
Oh, okay. Do you wish to speak?
Yes, I wish to speak.
What's your full name?
My name is Troy Sutton.
And what's your affiliation, the former affiliation?
I was a senior custodian with DCAS.
Okay.
Okay, and I was working in City Hall for over 10 years until I was terminated. Well, I got terminated when I moved to the Bronx. So, but just to put that, I worked under the Bloomberg administration, the de Blasio, and then when Mayor Adams came in there, that's when I got terminated for non-compliance, they said. Well, however, I was moved to the Bronx, and I was one of the people on the first line, and it really hurts me because I put a lot into DCAS. When I started with DCAS as a custodian, I started as just coming in. I had no levels. I went from no levels all the way to a level 3 because my performance was so good, and I respect DCAS for even giving me the chance. But when I got to City Hall and working there for the 10 years, they told me I was the longest custodian that ever worked there, because the other senior supervisors had to leave due to whatever circumstances. So unfortunately, I had got moved to the Bronx. So when I got moved to the Bronx, I was the senior custodian up there, and the pandemic hit. And I don't know if you're aware of one of the first cases that hit was in the Bronx, and this is the courthouse in the Bronx. So while I'm in the courthouse, I'm one of the senior custodians, and I have to get my workers to clean after one of the attorneys, I believe, was affected with COVID. So my and I can understand it. So me leading as a leader, I had to go in there. I had to go in there firsthand. And this before anything. I mean, we barely had masses at that time. And I had to go in there. I had to clean up and sanitize places. Had to sanitize for the judges. Had to sanitize for the police. Had to sanitize for the public, just to ensure that everybody was safe. And I just want to just reiterate that firing us was not the move. The city invested a lot of money in people like me to learn what I learned, to help protect, to protect the public, to protect the employees. I learned firsthand, dealing with Sandy, dealing with all of these other emergencies. I learned. So for the city to let someone like me go after they paid so much money to educate me, I got numerous certificates. I was a civil service. I passed the test. And just to let someone like me go, I think it was just it was wrong to the people of the city of New York who had to pay to had to pay for me to be educated in this field. So that I just want to say that I think people deserve more than any apology, because I believe that I was basically humiliated. I was humiliated. I went, like they said, you went from hero to a zero. And this is just, I think, for the city of New York, I just think that they should just accommodate people and just make people whole, and let's get over it, because as long as people is hurting, COVID never left. The pandemic is going to always be here because it's going to always be in the hearts of people who was affected by it. And I just want to say that I hope and pray, that everybody gets due diligence on what they deserve. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to testify? That I know we skipped some people at the beginning that we couldn't. There was some issues, or you didn't respond before we close the hearing. Want to make sure that we don't have anybody else.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Who is this?
This is Ophelia Ennis.
What's your name again?
My name is Ophelia Ennis.
Oh, okay. And what's your affiliation, or your former affiliation?
Right. So I work for the city with the Administration of Children's Services. I was a child protective specialist for about a little over 12 years. I started my service in 2009. And basically my job involved ensuring the city's children were safe in their homes. And I'm glad that, everybody here had the opportunity to speak about how this has affected them. In my particular job in the early stages of the pandemic, they allowed us to have like reasonable accommodations, such as working from home. We were able to do like televisits with families. We were able to do like PCR testing and things like that, so the business can continue for the city. And when we thought that everything was going to return to normal, then the COVID-19 vaccine became mandated. And I had put in a reasonable accommodation for like religious exemption. I was contacted by like an EEO attorney for an interview, and then I was later denied my religious accommodation. And that happened around like in October of 2021. And then like in January of 2022, I was placed on involuntary leave. And then I was terminated on February the 11th, 2022. I was basically let go without any due process, like many people who spoke before me. My union was not very helpful either. And I really felt left out in the cold and unrepresented. After I was terminated, I actually became a part of Miss
Joe St. George's case, which she spoke earlier today. She filed against the city, and she really has been very supportive and very determined throughout this process, and I appreciate her a lot. During the process, I had applied for unemployment, and initially it was approved, but then the city fought it, and I was no longer allowed to have those benefits. Um, so I did meet some requirements for my pension on retirement. So it wasn't the full retirement I wanted, but I put in for what I could, so I could, still survive. And so I used up all my savings, and there was a lot of financial difficulties. But since my termination. But what really hurt was not only that, but at the end of during the termination process, I was told like to turn in like all my equipment, my ID cards, cell phones, and everything. And if I didn't, they were going to file a police report about the equipment and things like that. It was very humiliating. I feel like a lot of damage has been done to the workers that were terminated, not only financial, but emotional and otherwise, as mentioned by others who went before me. But I do agree that the workers that were terminated are forced to resign, forced to retire, or forced to leave without pay, or forced to leave with a waiver, or otherwise separated because of the COVID-19 vaccine should be automatically reinstated to their jobs. I don't feel we should have to ask for our jobs back because we didn't do anything wrong. I was great at my job. I love my job. But we were made to feel ashamed and less than because because our religious beliefs or otherwise didn't want to take the vaccine. And I believe that reinstatement should include back pay, loss of benefits, restoration of depleted pensions used while terminated. I agree that workers need more than the 30-day to address this reinstatement process. And just in closing, I want to say that, New York City, the nation's eyes are on us. And so we really need to do what is right here because we will send a message around the nation. And so I hope that New York City will do what is right for the workers that they wrongfully terminated. And I just want to thank you for allowing me to say these things, and God bless you.
Thank you. I still see that FC. I thought we had FC already spoke. I thought FC was Miss Newball.
No. Okay, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, good morning, and good morning to all, and God bless to all, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I would love to recant my personal story, but I don't want to use up the time since we only have 5 minutes.
Okay,
Because
can
quite
you
frankly,
can you identify yourself first?
sure. Yeah, my full name is Franz. Excuse me, Franz Condé, and I was a special education and science teacher for 21 years. Also a mentor to many of the children there. We showed them different opportunities and taught them to believe in themselves. And like many people said here before, was quite frankly wrongfully terminated and coerced into taking a vaccine that I didn't want to take. I eventually decided not to. And as a result, that's why I said my story here is the story of many other people. But what I do know is that the common thread here, if we were all listening, is that we were all harmed in some way, shape, form, or fashion due to no fault of our own. And historically and legally speaking, whenever a harm is done to a particular person or to a group of people, for example, the Holocaust or Jim Crow or the Trail of Tears, etc., three fundamental things always have to happen, which is restitution, recompensation, and reinstatement. for whatever was lost, be it wages, title, etc. So I think the common thread here is everyone is saying those three things need to be done. Because the thing is, if the purpose of the mandate was to protect and save lives, I think it failed miserably, because we can listen to testimony after testimony after testimony of how many lives were harmed and even lives that were lost as a result. So again, if the stated purpose of the mandate was to save lives and protect lives, it did the exact opposite. You hear how many lives were just almost, quite frankly, destroyed and made topsy-turvy as a result. And so I'm speaking passionately on that, because everyone that spoke here, whatever race, nationality, sex, etc., they happen to be, all need to have the same justice, the reparative and the restorative justice. So they need the restitution of their titles, of their pension, of their back pay, everything that was lost. And as someone said before, the one thing that can't be regained is the traumatic effect that it had on people emotionally, mentally. I think another gentleman mentioned someone committed suicide. I can personally attest to relatives and friends that I lost to that were coerced into taking the vaccine, and as a result ended up with blood clots and are now dealing with all types of health issues. Some literally came down with some type of aggressive form of cancer when they were always healthy. Another lost their lives to stroke. So we've all been affected adversely, those that did take it and those that did not. But since we're dealing specifically with those that did not, I think it's only right and only fair for all of us to receive the restorative justice that we need, the reparative justice that we need. And anything less is quite frankly criminal. I do thank everyone that was here, and thank you to, I think it was the DAS. Was that the name of your institution? I correct me if I'm wrong.
DCAS.
I'm sorry, DCAS. So thank you for the time here. And I hope that the testimonials, unlike before, don't just fall upon deaf ears, but fall upon willing hands that are willing to put their hand to the plow and get restorative justice done immediately, because there are people here that are still dealing with the tragedy and that they've had to deal with. But I do have faith that we will all overcome. A lot of people mentioned their faith in Jesus Christ and their different religious ideologies, which I respect. I also believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe that together we will overcome. And I thank you to everyone, and I pray for your speedy recovery, and I look forward to the victory in Jesus. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So we will be closing this hearing, and thank you everybody who testified. I just want to, I'll mention that the purpose of this hearing is that it was since DCAS made a proposal to change our personal rules to allow for reinstatement. The proposal was to have this rule, which will become part of the DCAS personal rules, and it has to be adopted by the state Civil Service Commission. So we will consider all the testimony that was offered today in terms of the proposed rule, and that will be submitted to the state when we submit it to the proposed rule to the state for approval to the DCAS rules. If you have the record will remain open until November 24th, the close of business. So if you wish to offer additional testimony, you can email it to the email that James provided. I think he put it in the link, James. You put it.
Yeah, I put my email in the chat. Also, I'd like to reiterate that the hearing information, including the proposed rule, and also the memo that includes my contact information to submit testimony, is on the DCAS website under public hearings. If you basically Google DCAS public hearings, you'll be able to find it.
Can I ask one question?
This isn't really a forum for questions, but if it's about procedure, sure.
No, just want to say one thing. Can we use the word automatic reinstatement? That's all I want to say. Automatic or
Who is
whatever is
speaking?
like needed. Kawana Coleman, DOE.
Well, we can add that to your testimony,
Yes, thank
or
you.
that can be part of your testimony. All right. So, unless anybody else has anything else, the hearing will be closed. Then, thank you.
Wait a minute. I have a question, Mr. Reyes. You said that the recommendation will be sent to the state commission. Did you? I just want to get clarification on the process. Next step.
Yeah, there is a state civil service commission.
Okay, and
that-
so all DCAS is a city agency, correct? But all provisions.
DCAS is as a municipal service commission. DCAS is under the jurisdiction of the State Civil Service Commission. So in order for DCAS to amend our rules, we need to have this hearing, and we need to provide the state with our proposed rule, and they need to approve it.
Oh, okay. So you're under the state civil service, which the city is a municipality under the state. So that's why you guys have. So Mr. Whitman gave me.
They have the right to approve it. The authority
Okay.
to approve our rules, changes to our rules.
Understood. Mr. Whitman made a statement, or I've been asking about this classification issue with regards to I think the word is pedagogical DOE staff.
We'll take it up. You can reach out to Mr. Whitman or to me after the hearing, and we can get into more details of like what that means.
Well, I mean, I think for everybody, this is a public hearing and this is a public issue. And because you made the statement that this resolution may or may not apply to all city workers, and that there may be some exemption of pedagogical DOE employees, we just need definitions, or take me to the statute that differentiates between employees of DOE versus pedagogical, the classification. I went to the statute and it's not clear to me, but you all raised it during this hearing, and it has left a big kind of a vague hole going forward for everyone. And I think you all should at least give us the rule so that we can read it and understand what you have said with regards to who is not covered.
No, I understand. I think that I think we were trying to clarify, and apologies if that created confusion, but we were trying to clarify that this specific rule is for not. I'm not saying the reinstatement process in general that the mayor announced, but just this specific rule that we propose from DCAS, that in order for the reinstatement to take place for competitive and labor class employees, that we needed to change. We needed to change our rules. So we're proposing this rule to allow for competitive and non-competitive employees to be reinstated. And for example, non-competitive employees
competitive
are not,
and labor class.
competitive and labor class, and that non-competitives are not covered by the rules, and there's no need to change our rules in order for them to be reinstated. So is that clear to you that for example, somebody who's non-competitive, we don't need to change our rules for that person to be reinstated under this program, but for competitive and labor class, that we do need to change our rules.
Yeah,
So
and unclassified service employees, we don't have to change our rules. So most teachers are generally in the unclassified service, and they're just not under these rules. Like,
okay, so that was because those terminologies. So most teachers are unclassified, because I mean, we just needed that clarification, and so we need to look under the reinstatement rules for unclassified.
Now, the reinstatement rules that we are talking about today in terms of the proposed is for competitive and labor class. and we needed to change our rules in order to allow for the reinstatement of those employees that were terminated.
Does DCAS have authority over the unclassified?
There is authority, but in terms of the reinstatement, we don't need to change the rules in order for an agency to reinstate non-competitive or the other titles. There was no need to change the rules in order to have that reinstatement process. Is that clear?
So what in the current reinstatement rule necessitated this change for the competitive and labor classes?
Because it specifically says that if you're terminated, you can only be reinstated within a year of termination.
So unclassified people, they don't have that year limitation?
No.
But they have some other limitations based on, I'm just trying to figure out whether or not this proposal is comprehensive. If DCAS both unclassified, non-competitive, and labor, then we, and I'll put this in writing to you, but this is what I need to add as my recommendation, is that this resolution resolves issues for unclassified as well as non-competitive and labor classes as it relates to the issues raised in this hearing by all of the people. If that unclassified reinstatement doesn't cover what has been mentioned by everyone here, including myself, regarding retired, those who were, resigned. If that unclassified does not address those people either, then both provisions need to be amended to reflect what everyone has been, everyone has been. So if you just, I will email you, but I'm going to request what provision under the rules covers the reinstatement of unclassified people, and then I can put everything in writing. If you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it, Mr. Whitman or Mr. Reyes.
Okay. And yeah, we didn't. We just wanted to clarify. Obviously there are many questions with respect to the reinstatement process that the city is working on, but just this process, this rule is not intended to answer all the questions. It's intended to allow for the reinstatement of competitive and labor class employees who were terminated due to the COVID vaccine. So it's just allowing for that reinstatement process to take place.
Understood. It's just that those two labor classes without definition leaves everyone not knowledgeable and is vague. And so we're just trying to I'm just trying to ensure that the vagueness is removed and that the scope is all encompassing. So I will send that, and thank you for giving me that clarification. I'm glad that this issue was raised, and I appreciate the extra time.
All right, thank you. So with that, we'll just do you want to, James, do you have anything else?
No, I think we can close the hearing.
Okay, so for that, as I mentioned, again, you have until November 24th to submit any additional statement. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, have a good.
All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in. That was 3 hours and 47 minutes of hearing testimony. A couple of takeaways that I really, really appreciated is, why is it non-compliance? It's non-consensual. I appreciated that from Joy. We're going to wrap things up. If you are tuning in and learning about Cafecito Break for the first time, we are not city workers, but we are from New York. We had a small business that we had to close after 9 years, and because we couldn't continue to keep it open by being non-essential. And we're also overs from the media industry who refused the COVID jab, and life still to this day in the present moment is difficult for us because we are the big mouths on the internet who got censored with everybody else who was speaking up. And to this day, we continue to experience censorship, whether we are raising awareness for these unconstitutional COVID mandates and the repercussions, whether we're raising awareness for the jab injuries that have ensued, for all the people that have passed away, for the livelihoods lost, for lives derailed, the trauma of having so much pressure coming at you from all angles. We've all made lemonade with the little bit of lemon juice that was still left. And if you're looking at that picture represents just a few of the lions, but very consistent lions who are city workers, police officers, health advocates, people from the school system, people in the health field, independent media like Cafecito Break. We are, want to take make a moment to also shout out all of the independent content creators that have been boots on the ground alongside with us, tirelessly holding space and showcasing what many in New York still don't realize. We need to make space for this time, for these stories, this trauma, this healing. I hope and pray that the city workers who gave so much of themselves, that they're able to get justice and compensation, reparations. And I also do pray that those other ones that fell in between the cracks, who had small businesses and lost it all, who served the cities in different ways, whether they were a gig employee, a taxi driver, a yogi, an artist, somebody who works in freelance media like us too, that you guys also get your vindication for speaking up and standing strong during one of the greatest weaponizations in history against humanity. It was not just the government and the media against you. It was also sometimes your very own loved ones. Some difficult times. I want to leave you with this clip. Sometimes, you gain a bigger perspective when you see how it plays out with other lions who've been battling outside from overseas. So I want to close out with this lioness, Christine Anderson.
And things are changing now. Their house of cards is tumbling down, and it is doing so rightfully. I am sick and tired of being called a COVIDiot, and I much rather be a COVIDiot than being a gov idiot, because that's what all these people blindly trust.
Merci. Et Christine, je te donne la parole pour 3 minutes, parce que comme vous le savez, dans le Parlement, on est très limité.
I will try my best. I've welcome all of you here today, and to have such a turnout.
I had no idea that the Democrats and Brooklyn and all those people would turn against the Perez sisters in 2020. Why? Because we started questioning the lockdowns. Because we started questioning the laptop class that shut down and went inside while the front line workers, the people who are boots on the ground here in the city continued on. And I started to see how a bunch of them were a bunch of like hypocrites. Like my own friends. I remember, I don't like to blast people, but I remember telling one of my elected official friends, hey, I'm about to lose my business. What are you guys doing on that? Oh, it's still open, right? But we lost our business in 2022 after 9 years. Why? Because we were non-essential. Think about how that made anybody feel in New York to be called non-essential. That's programming. That's programming. That's making you feel small. Something else happened in 2020. The BLM riots.
All right. So, mi gente, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead, stay strong, hang in there. We the people, there's more of us. And as we see, we still have so much work ahead of us. But God has held us and continues to. Our prayer to each and every one of you. You guys are our heroes. Deep bow to you. Thank you again. We are live Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're fellow freedom fighters, Cozy and Mark, and others who join the rotation. And we talk about all things New York, including the mandates. And you can hear updates there. And we also continuously bring on people that we interview who are close to these subject matters and close to things that hopefully can make our lives a little bit better, whether it's a little wiser, a little healthier. Don't forget, the most important thing in this world is you, our families, our loved ones, our friends. So thank you again for being with us, and we'll see you soon.